The Pirates have long been a bottom feeder of the MLB ranks and haven't won a playoff series since they were able to win it all in 1979. And with their current ownership insisting to keep their payroll in the bottom third of the league, this will likely not change anytime soon. But today we are going to be taking over the Pirates to see if it's even possible to win a World Series while keeping our salary as low as possible. To achieve this, we will unfortunately have to trade Paul Skenes before the deadline of our very first season, as a one-time Cy Young winner and former Rookie of the Year is going to demand an extremely high price tag even in his arbitration years. Along with this, we are not going to be able to offer any free agents deals longer than 3 seasons or more than $20 million per season. And since the Pirates did finally offer Connor Griffin a 9-year, $140 million deal, we will be able to re-sign any of our elite draft picks, but only if we can do it before they hit arbitration. If we can't do that, then we will have to trade them away before the end of their very first season in arbitration. And our first order of business here is going to be moving Paul Skenes to the trade block. Before we get in and take a look at the team, seeing Paul Skenes go is going to be unfortunate, but hopefully we can get 4 of the top of the line prospects back for him, and maybe even 1 or 2 that are going to be ready. That'll help this team build a foundation over the next handful of seasons. But looking outside of Paul Skenes, our top player would be the 31-year-old Brandon Lau, who's on his final year of deal here in Pittsburgh, so he'll be a free agent next year. I'm not sure if we'll sign him, but if he has a good year, we might want to do that. And then we move on to Brian Reynolds, one of the longest term contracts the Pirates have, which is going to be, I think they signed him for 8 years for $130 million. So he'll be with us for a long time, probably this full rebuild, especially if we can get this rebuild done in 5 seasons. And then we have some other big names like Dennis Santana, who's on his final year, and we may move him towards the deadline since he is a decent, solid closing pitcher. And then we have O'Neal Cruz, another player we have for at least a handful of years, and he typically progresses fairly well into the high 80s, so he's going to be a solid cornerstone out there in center field. And then we have players like Ryan O'Hearn, who again is only here for 1-year deal, or sorry, 2-year deal, so he'll be gone after the 2027 season, but he costs a lot of money, nearly $15 million, and if he doesn't produce, or if he's producing decently enough, he could be another trade piece. But one of the more intriguing guys is going to be Bubba Chandler, one of the younger guys, a guy who consistently messes with Paul Skenes in real life, which is great, but he is a very, very good in the game, has outlier on that 4-seam fastball, and he's going to be electric in the majors. Didn't have a great season last year in only 7 games, but I think he's going to be very, very good in franchise. And then pairing up with him is going to be Jared Jones. And with our house rules, we're going to have to sign him this season if we want to keep him around. If we can't, we're going to have to trade him next year in year 1 of ARB, since he's an A potential player. But in his 1-year stint with the Pirates, 22 games, a 4.14 ERA, struck out 132 and 121 innings of work. So very good. Had 11 quality starts as well. I think he could be a good guy to build our rotation around if we're able to sign him before the offseason this year. But then we can look at the depth chart and kind of get a glimpse at around our team in comparison to how they compare with other teams in the league. Obviously, the left side of the infield and in our catcher position, very, very miserable. Connor Griffin will be making the boost up to MLB. He's not on the MLB roster currently, but he'll give us a little bit of boost in shortstop position, and hopefully he can progress really quickly. But the right side's a little bit better. Obviously, Brandon Lau, who's a 1-year rental this year, and then Jake Magnum, Ryan O'Hearn on the right-hand side. Our relief pitching also isn't very good. I would like to see us improve that a lot. We only have 4 guys above a 70. And then at DH, we have Marcell Ozuna, a guy who can hit for a ton of power. So again, another guy who could be a trade piece since he's on a 1-year deal. A lot of these guys may not be on the team after this season. We may move 4 to 5 guys just to get a lot of prospects in return, because I don't want to be left hanging, especially if we're not going to make a playoff push anytime in the near future. But with that, we spoke about prospects and acquiring a lot of prospects. Right now, our farm rank is number 1 in MLB, so it's very solid. So acquiring even 1 or 2 or 3 more is just going to put us up a little bit more. We will lower that a little bit with Connor Griffin moving up to the MLB very shortly, just because he's such a good player out there at shortstop. And he also got signed for an 8-year deal, $140 million. So we're not going to let him hang out in the AAA ranks. But below him, we have Bubba Chandler, who's already on the MLB roster. Seth Hernandez, an A-ball player right now, who could fly up the ranks very, very quickly with that B potential. And we have Edward Florentino, another B potential player out there in center field who can play first base and the corner outfield spots. And then Tamar Johnson, a guy who has been very publicized as one of the top prospects in baseball for many, many years, but has slightly fallen off in recent years with only a C potential. He can play a lot of places, so he could be a utility guy that moves up the ranks if he can improve that overall. And then we have Nick York, who's currently in the MLB right now. And then we have a couple other guys here hanging out. But all in all, this farm system is very good, and we just need to utilize it to the best of the ability. And especially if we can acquire, 2 or 3 top line recruits and maybe a MLB ready recruit for Paul Skenes, we'll be in very, very good hands going forward. And we get the Paul Skenes trade done. We're not having a great start to this year, which is understandable. And since we're moving Paul Skenes, we're really going to try to take a nosedive to get a good draft pick next season. But we're going to get Cam Schittler, Spencer Jones, Ryan Weathers, and George Lombard Jr. back for Skenes. We did trade him to the Yankees. It is what it is. I think this is a very solid trade. We got 3 really good prospects. I mean, Spencer Jones, a top 40, 100 prospect. Lombard Jr., a top 20, 100 prospect. And Ryan Weathers and Cam Schittler are both MLB ready type players. So they'll probably make the MLB roster. Weathers may not work his way into the starting rotation. We'll have to see. But all in all, I think a very, very solid pool. And the A's are also going to move for Aroldis Chapman for Gage Jump, a top 40 prospect for one of the best lefties in the league. And the Braves decided to make a move as well. They get Logan Webb for the Giants for a couple prospects in return. But coming into our first draft, we'll have the 5th pick. Jeffrey Elliott is a top of the line guy. He's 1-1 projected for MLB and for us. And then another option is Herbert McNeil, a starting pitcher. I'm not sure we'll take a starting pitcher in this draft just because we have so many solid young starting pitchers in our rotation already. And then Paul Burris here is the most intriguing because he is projected to go 8th on the MLB board and 3rd on ours. Somebody we could get. And if we do get him, he's he has top 3 potential in this draft. And then another starting pitcher, Andre Baisley. Very, very good stats, especially that 4-seam fastball, very electric stuff. But the potential threshold being 87 to 97 is very intriguing. I also jumped from 40th to 4th, but I think we're going to try to wait and see if we can get him with our 2nd pick. And then Chad Kyler, another solid guy. The bat tool really isn't there, but very, very fast. Could be a guy that we put in outfield as more of a fielder, but with a solid bat, kind of a leadoff guy. But with the 1st round pick, and Billy Smart's going to go 1-1. That's kind of be expected. He's such a solid player, and that's a good pickup by, I think, the Rockies. The Rays pick Jeffrey Elliott, so he's going to go 1 slot lower than what he was projected for. And then pick number 3, the Twins are going to take Kyler as well. So this is a guy we could have picked up, so we don't have him to choose from. And with Herbert McNeil going at that 4 slot, now we have to choose between Paul Burris and Andre Baisley. And both of them are solid players. Baisley has a higher potential threshold, but I think Burris is probably a better pick. Again, we don't need so many starting pitchers. So we're going to see if we can wait and pick up Baisley as a round 1 pick number 38. And of course, the Rockies go and get Baisley, and they're going to get a very solid arm. So now we got to find somebody else to slot in as our 2nd pick. And with a couple of our other options like John Drew and Barry Holt, one being a Discover player, one not being too intriguing to me, we're going to take a little bit of a risk. We're going to go and get a player who we haven't scouted, and that's going to be Sung at first base, an international player we haven't scouted, so we're going to take a little bit of this, but he is projected to go top 20 on our and MLB board, so hopefully we can make a big hit here and make a big splash at our 2nd round pick. And John Drew got picked the 75th pick by the Padres. We have a couple options here, Barry Holt being one of them. I think I'm going to go with the closing pitcher here, and I think we're going to pick up Dexter Moore as a risk here, but with closing pitchers this year, you have a very solid chance of getting a very solid arm with any of these guys. And then next up, we'll pick Barry Holt. He's been on the board too long, so we're going to pick him up here. And for round 5, we're going to go with Santiago Mendoza. Very solid stats, but we don't have him scouted, so it could be a hit or miss. But picking up a starting pitcher this late with this much capability could be a good pick. And then for our last pick, we're going to go with a relief pitcher. We're going to go with Jarrett Colbert. We don't have him scouted, but at this point, I think picking up relief pitcher is probably a good option. And with our house around place where we have to sign any A potential players to a deal before year 1 on ARB, we're going to offer Jared Jones a 3-year, $46.5 million deal before his first year of ARB, because if we go any further than that, his AAV gets absolutely insane. A 4-year contract's nearly $20 million, 5 years 22, 6 is 24, and it just keeps going up and up and up. So we're going to roll this back down and just get him for 3 years. We'll probably, hopefully, if we get him to sign, trade him after that 3rd year. If he can't sign this deal, this is probably the top of the line where we want to go with him. We'll probably have to move him next year before the deadline. And he's going to accept it. I didn't expect him to, but we'll have him for the next 3 seasons. And just a few days after the All-Star break, we get this juicy, juicy deal. And it's going to be Cade Anderson and Lazaro Montes, 2 top 20 prospects for Brandon Lau and Dennis Santana, 2 guys who we're not going to be able to bring back. Santana we possibly could have signed, but as a really young closer, he's probably going to draw a high price tag. And I think Cade Anderson is another solid pitcher we can pick up. If we don't fill him into our rotation, we can always move him. But Lazaro Montes is a very intriguing pick. We have a ton of control over him, top 20 prospect, B potential, and he fills a void in outfield that we need. He's also a secondary first baseman, which is really huge. Another position we would want to fill it after Ryan O'Hearn time probably comes to an end here with the Pirates. So we're going to go ahead and lock this one in and go ahead and accept this trade. This is definitely the best trade that I've seen so far. And we're going to get 2 really, really good prospects in return, although we do give up a really good, powerful bat at second base, but we can always try to re-sign him during free agency. And now after that trade, this is what our starting pitchers look like in our organization. You have Cam Schittler as our number 1 guy, Bubba Chandler right behind him, Jared Jones, who we just signed to that 3-year deal, Ryan Weathers, another B potential, Mitch Keller, who's on a, I think, still 3-year deal right now, Braxton Ashford, who's 26, doesn't have the greatest potential, but is solid, Hunter Barco, Seth Hernandez, a 19-year-old, Anthony Solometo, a 23-year-old C potential player, but Cade Anderson, 21 B potential, Thomas Harrington, 24 B potential. And our organization's looking absolutely insane at the pitching level. We're going to have a ton of chances with guys to get a lot of top pitching arms, but even if they don't pan out fully, we can always move them for other positions or even 1-year rentals when we're really trying to make a push for the World Series. And in a surprise fashion, the Twins are going to accept this trade. I don't think the value is there for them. I think we got an absolute steal. Walker Jenkins, a top 10 prospect in our farm system, is going absolutely crazy. We did trade Nick Gonzalez away. They needed another shortstop. He was actually better than who they had there right now. Marcell Ozuna, he was on a 1-year rental. He is hitting 303 with 23 homers, so if they're making a playoff push, he'll be a good bat for them. Justin Lawrence was another bullpen arm they needed. I just don't see the value in him or long-term value in him, so we trade him. And then Chris Davinsky was a closing pitcher they needed. So all in all, we got an absolute killer return for 4 guys, or 1 guy that wasn't going to be here next year and a couple other guys that weren't long-term solutions. And with that trade, Walker Jenkins immediately jumps to number 1 in our organization. Seth Hernandez right there, George Lambert, another guy we picked up. And a lot of these guys have been brought in via trades. 4 of the top 7 were all trade acquisitions this season. And I think we're really set up for a very, very nice turnaround in the next handful of years. And I don't know if the trade system's broken right now, but we're getting trades like this. Michael Arroyo for Ryan O'Hearn, who would be like a 2-year rental for the Mariners, who don't even really need a first baseman. I'm not going to take this one just because I want to keep Ryan O'Hearn released for this year, since we just traded so many people this year. But man, I mean, this is just an insane deal, a straight up 1-for-1. And so here is our draft class results. And I got to tell you, this class was insane. But before we get into it, let's cover our guys. Paul Burris, 89 potential, 60 overall. Not too bad. Is pretty serviceable against righty so far, but really raw elsewhere. Elijah Wells, a third baseman who we picked up. Not too shabby as well. Could be an everyday guy. I mean, if he gets his 87 overall, he'll be really solid. Sung, a guy we took a risk on, 76 potential. If it goes up into the 80s, he'll be a solid player out there for us. And then Dexter Moore, a closing pitcher. This is why you take risk and go for closing pitchers in that round 3, man. Absolutely insane. 91 potential. And then Barry Holt, a guy who was discovered, 81 potential with 62 overall. Not the worst pick in the world, and we weren't able to sign any of our last 2 picks. But now we can get into the rest. This is crazy. Y'all aren't even prepared for this. Fred Madsen, 70 overall, 92 potential. We technically could have picked him up, but we didn't scout him. Earl Gross, a 90 potential player. Antonio Garcia, a 96 potential third baseman. Andre Baisley. Oh, this one hurts me. We were choosing between him and Burris, and we chose Burris. A really solid arm out there. But again, I think our rotation's solid for now. Definitely serviceable. A potential. 94, 65 is going to be really, really killer for them. And then the Padres get a 97 potential catcher from the 21st overall pick. Giants also get a solid player here at McNeil. And then another really good closing pitcher, Marlon Mize. The Rays get a solid player, near generational, doesn't have that 99 potential you see with generational player, but is 75 overall. Very, very good. And then like the worst pick of the draft so far, Billy Smart. He was a complete bust at that #1 overall pick, but they do get Joe Johnson, a starting pitcher, as their second pick there. The Royals, who picked one slot behind us, gets a 89 potential, 65 overall, and they also get a closing pitcher. So that's 3 closing pitchers so far that are really good. Make it 4 with the Twins, get another one. They had Chad Kyler at the 3 pick. Lee Louis, a 92 potential player, and then they also have a 91 potential center fielder down there. And then the first generational, true generational player here, Don Casto, who was picked up at the number 12 pick. 99 potential, 83 overall. This is the best overall I've seen a generational player come in. The fielding could be a little better, but extremely solid there. And then it gets even worse when you look at the Marlins. The Marlins had a 15th pick or something, 80 overall, 99 potential, and a position where we wanted to fill, third base, and he can play first. So this is just killer, man. We didn't get either of those guys. And then we'll finish out going through the rest of this. And then another good closing pitcher. So that's 5 this draft. So again, take risks on closing pitchers. And a little bit of a self-plug, if y'all do want my draft process, the video is tagged in the top right-hand corner on YouTube, but go ahead and check that out. But all in all, I think our class is really good. I mean, we got 4 guys with an 80-plus potential, a 5th one with 76. 3 of these guys will probably play a really big role at some point in this rebuild to make us get to a World Series and hopefully win it. But we did miss some guys. There are definitely a couple guys, 2 generational guys that we picked up, but all in all, I don't think it's too bad of a draft class. And as we come into the close of the season, we'll be 82-80. Honestly, a little bit better than I wanted to see. I wanted to really tank this season because I wanted a good draft pick next year. So we'll be probably somewhere in like the 10 to 15 range, which isn't great. But I think some of our guys really did well this year. Connor Griffin, nearly a 300 average and 500 plate appearances, or 500 at-bats for a matter. 17 holders, 70 RBIs. Brian Reynolds, and that's out of leadoff spot too. Brian Reynolds, a 300-plus average. Ryan O'Hearn, not a too bad of a year. And then the rest of these guys, not too shabby. Well, a lot of these guys we just brought up to fill some voids, so I'm not too worried about that. But our main guys are really solid. But moving on to our rotation was where we kind of had some issues. Everybody, I think, was above a 4 ERA, except for Ryan Weathers, who actually had a really solid season with a 3.23 and 131 innings of work. Cam Schittler with 158 strikeouts with 153 innings. ERA is a little high. Whip's not too crazy, a 1.41. Same thing for Mitch Keller. And then also Bubba Chandler and Jared Jones. So their ERAs are a little bloated, but the whip, which is around 1.4, you kind of want it at that level or a little lower. And then moving on to our bullpen, a couple other guys who we just kind of brought up at the tail end of the year. Just not a lot. But we did sign Johnny Chin out of free agency, and he's a rookie. We only have him on a $60,000 deal right now. So for the value, just an insane pickup out of free agency. He had 12 saves, an ERA sub-1, 20 strikeouts, and 20 innings work. So we're going to keep him around. And I think we just got really lucky with him. But all in all, I think a very solid season from our major league team. And we'll also even have O'Neal Cruz lead in triples with 12 on the season. And we'll also get the Rookie of the Year with Connor Griffin. I think it was a little bit to be expected. He has such a solid season. And we'll get a look at the other top placements. Gabriel here at 270, 15 homers, 40 RBIs, not even close. And then Nolan McLean, 9-10, which really doesn't matter for starting pitchers, but 173 putouts with a 3.41. But Connor Griffin, just a stellar start to his major league career. Second Rookie of the Year award for the Pirates in the last 3 seasons. Obviously, we traded Paul Skenes away this season, but we don't have to do that with Connor Griffin since he was already signed to that big long-term deal. So we'll have him through the length of this rebuild and then some. But on the other side, Murakami gets it, 26 bombs, 67 RBIs, and then Chase DeLauder there. Well, looking back at the MVP, it'll be Aaron Judge, and Rafael Devers comes through with the near 300 average, 42 homers, and 100 plus RBIs. Cy Young goes to Logan Webb. Garrett Crochet. Batting title goes to Aaron Judge and Ketel Marte. Brian Reynolds, third place with a 302 average. Not too far outside of that. Reliever of the Year, Phil Maton and Griffin Jacks on the other side. And we won't have any other awards, but we got the best award for this season for us, Rookie of the Year, which I'm very excited about. And even looking at the team rankings, we finished 7th in batting average, which isn't too bad. We finished second in triples at 48. Obviously, a lot of that has to do with the fact that O'Neal Cruz led the league in that. But in terms of power hitting, I want to see a little bit more out of us. We are right on the threshold of the top 25 above the Tigers at that 20th spot. So if we get the top 10 next year in power hitting, I think it'll be a massive improvement for us. And then team ERA was a big detriment, 406, which isn't really going to win you a ton of games if you're giving up 4+ runs a game. But that's an area I think we'll improve in as we develop a lot of our younger guys and then get into those mid 80s overalls. I think they'll excel there and we can dip into the threes next season. And the Tampa Bay Rays will go out and win the World Series in this first season. They win 4-1 against the Brewers, which is just the most insane thing. We did a Tampa Bay rebuild not too long ago, but the World Series MVP goes to Yandy Diaz hitting nearly 500. And then the ALCS goes to Chandler Simpson, who was an absolute dog in our rebuild. Junior Caminero, also another dog. Yandy Diaz, I don't think we had him for too terribly well. Jackson Churros, Hal Frelick, and then Christian Yelich on the other side. But a very interesting turn of events. Typically, it's either the Dodgers or Yankees in this first season, so maybe that spells good things for these small market teams winning the World Series, and hopefully we can do it within 5 seasons. And now we'll get a good look at the top free agents, but remember, we can't sign any of the top 10 here, so we're not going to be able to get an ace like Freddie Peralta, Jesus Luzardo, or even some position players or relief pitchers at that point. The best player we could sign right now would be Aroldis Chapman. We also have a second house rule where we can't sign free agents for longer than 3 seasons or $20 million per year. And that's going to limit us a lot. Aroldis Chapman would accept that, but players like Trevor Rogers, that's not going to be good enough, or Taylor Ward or Trent Grisham. So we're going to have to pick and choose kind of who we want to sign and maybe try to entice them through just sitting them on our free agent board for as long as possible. And we're starting off hot with this free agency market. Jazz Chisholm going back to the Yankees for a 7-year deal, but then Adrian Morejon, another relief arm, is going to go to the Big Apple to play for the Yankees. And we'll also get a trade. Framber Valdez will be moving to Seattle for a couple top prospects and Luke Raley in return. And the Mariners are looking very scary. We just took a couple top prospects from them this season, and they're basically out of prospects in their farm system. And one I didn't mention, Taylor Ward will be signing with the Dodgers to bolster their outfield. Ian Happ goes to the Twins, and also Alec Bohm goes to the White Sox. And Chris Bubic, number 2 free agent, goes to the Padres for an 8-year, $272 million deal. And Alex Vesia signs a 1-year deal for the A's. And we'll also see Eugenio Suarez and Dennis Santana, 2 guys we wanted to get this season for rentals, will be heading to the division rivals in the Reds. And Nico Horner will return to the Cubs this year for a 4-year, nearly $100 million deal. And finally, Tarik Skubal will sign, and that's going to be going to the Braves for a 10 or nearly 10-year deal, $377 million, 42 per year. And he's going to be very killer down there in Atlanta. And another one of our signings go to an in-division opponent. It's going to be Brian Abreu. We thought we could sign him. We had a pretty good percentage, but he chooses to go to Chicago. Jesus Luzardo will be going to the Mile High City, a 7-year, $240 million deal. And like I predicted, we are going to be 15th on the draft board this season. The Cardinals do move up 3 slots, and everybody else slides down 1. I would have loved the top 10 pick at least, but we did see some generational prospects come a little later in the draft this year, so maybe we'll get lucky this season. And then Freddie Peralta will be headed to the Orioles. We're clearing out the top 10. I think there's only 1 or 2 guys left. And we'll finally get our first signing. That's going to be Matt Strom, a really solid relief pitcher. We chose to go with him instead of some other guys because he's 1, cheap, but 2, if he has a solid season this year or next year, we're going to be able to trade him away for another player, probably a position player to help us push for a playoff run or more prospects. I think that's the best deal we can make right now rather than going signing a really big, high expensive dollar guy. And we'll also get Brooks Raley for the exact same reason, 2 years, $7.4 million. He had a really solid year with a sub-2 ERA, and he's going to be really good in the bullpen for us. And finally, we get a position player. This time it's going to be Marcell Ozuna. We're going to bring him back and run him back. He had 30-plus bombs this year. If he can do it again, he's going to be a really good trade piece for us again this year, and that's going to be the plan with him. And Jack Flaherty is going to the West Coast again, but this time to the Giants for a 5-year, $155 million deal. And then Chris Sale will sign a 1-year deal to the Phillies, and they get another solid lefty. And we'll also sign Lynyon Sosa. He was so incredibly cheap. We offered him a 2-year deal for near just under 4 million. He hit 22 homers last season, and we wanted to improve power. His average was a little low, but hopefully he'll pick that up here in Pittsburgh. And looking at our 2027 depth chart, it doesn't scream out we're going to be a solid team, but I think we have solid players in good positions. Obviously, that left side of the infield is very, very bad. We also have O'Neal Cruz at his former position at shortstop, just because we, against righties, is just kind of odd, but Connor Griffin will play there against lefties. And then the right side's still a little bit worse for wear, but our outfield positions are 9th and 10th, so top 10. Our relief pitching's top 20, not too terrible. But all in all, I think we still need to improve a lot of positions, but the starting rotation is improving a ton. Almost everybody's above an 80, and we're going to be shooting up the ranks hopefully very, very soon. But a lot of these guys can improve 3 overall points each. We'll be in very good hands going forward, at least in the rotation. And then looking at our top prospects, our farm system's number 1, Paul Burris slots in at the number 1 overall spot for us. He'll start out in Double-A. Elijah Wells is number 2. He'll start out A-ball. Walker Jenkins, who we traded for last year, at 3rd. At Triple-A, Seth Hernandez, who was on the team. Triple-A, George Lambar Jr., who we traded earlier in the season last year, will be there. Cade Anderson, another tradee. Montez, another tradee. A lot of these guys, and then Barry Holt also makes his appearance here, Double-A guy. A lot of these guys we already traded for will be in the Triple-A level, just on the precipice of making a jump to the majors, but we don't have anybody really in the top. Obviously, you have the generational players like Don Casto, Steve Torres. Those guys are up at the top of the list. And then our first guy comes in at top 15. But still, all in all, I think the bulk of our guys are very good, so it puts us at a very good position for the top-ranked farm system in the league. And Spencer Jones will be seeing the MLB this season. He'll start opening day. He'll get some time. I think he's played a little bit. He played at 18 games last year. Didn't have that great of a September call-up. His OPS was 636. But for his first taste of the major league level, I don't think it was too bad. But hopefully he can get some time here, maybe 250-plus at-bats, and really start to show us something and make his name known and force us to put him in the lineup. With only a few weeks in the season, Nick Lodolo will be on the move to the Nats. The Reds will get Eli Willits, a top 50 prospect back, and a couple other guys as well. And then another big trade early in the season, this time Joe Johnson, a guy who was just drafted last season, a potential player. Ryan Walker, Young-Hoo Lee, Adrian Hauser, and Eric Miller will all be headed to the White Sox for a decent return of prospects, but a really, really shining star here in Johnson. And then another massive deal, Mackenzie Gore goes to the Guardians with Danny Jansen for Parker. Not even going to pronounce that last name, but he's a top 3 prospect, a potential, who hasn't done really too hot in Double-A. And then Logan Allen and then Angel as well will go. So a very big haul for the Guardians and the Rangers. And the best deal so far just came across our desk, and that's going to be Ryan O'Hearn, who's having a stellar year for Dalton Rushing. We have a lot of control over him, and it is a position we need to fill at catcher. We have Joey Bart right there, Andy Rodriguez behind him, but neither of those guys are really going to be a long-term solution. Dalton Rushing could be that guy for us. And even with the little bit lower stats, I still think he's a solid prospect we could pick up. But honestly, I want to see how bad they want him, so we're going to try to also get Alex Freeland as well. If they're willing to offer this trade, it really improves their first base because Freddie Freeman has fallen off a ton. He's 76 overall as a 37-year-old. But if we can get Alex Freeland and Dalton Rushing for Ryan O'Hearn, who's on his final year deal, we're probably not going to re-sign him, that'd be a killer deal for us. And the Dodgers didn't want him that bad, but we're going to keep offering some deals and see if they'll take him before the deadline, because I do think they have some good prospects that I would love to have, especially if Dalton Rushing can become a Pirate here soon. And now we're here for draft number 2, 2027. And I think we honestly did a good job. We're in the 15th slot, and we got a couple of good guys around that threshold that could be good for us. Gio Tyson here doesn't have overwhelming stats, but the potential is insane, 81 to 96. And he's projected the 2nd pick, jumping up for the 65th on the MLB board. And then I think my favorite pick of the draft right here is Luis Santana. If he could fall to us, that would be massive. His bat's great, fielding great, and he's a 3rd baseman, 1st baseman, secondary, and he's a switch hitter as well. We have him number 3 on our board and 16th on the MLB board, and if he stays true to that MLB ranking, he will fall to us 1 pick early. And then we have other players like Toby Berry, who has solid potential, who's going to jump from the 20th pick all the way to the 11th pick. And then same thing for Marsh here. He jumps from 52nd all the way to 12th. He looks pretty good as well. And then we have a killer late round pick, a guy who I think is extremely underrated, Chad Chu here. He's 86 to 91 potential, so you pretty much know exactly what you're getting unless he's an absolute bust. He's 53rd projected on an MLB board, but 70th on our board. But I think his stats show that he's going to be a really good player someday, and I would love to pick him up. And then same thing here for Sean, another guy who I think is underrated. We have him 79th. MLB has him 88th. But with that 82 to 94 potential and really low, he's definitely going to be a long-term project, but I think he could be killer down the line. And if we can get him as well, he'll be a shoo-in for a really good prospect later on. And for the number 1 pick, the Cardinals are going to take Estevan Gonzalez. We didn't scout him. We didn't really scout anybody inside the top, I think 12 or 13. Nigel Franco goes number 2. The starting pitcher goes to the White Sox. And then the Rockies take another starting pitcher. This guy jumps from 2nd all the way to 21st because we did accidentally scout him just a hair. And of course, the Blue Jays take Luis Santana, the guy we wanted. And I mean, he's going to be killer. I think he's going to go over 94 potential. I think he'll end up being 95 plus. But man, oh man, obviously the only thing really bad about him was his power. Obviously, Gio Tyson makes the most sense. He jumped all the way from 65th to 2nd, but that could also mean we get him with the 2nd round, but we didn't have luck with that last year. So it could be a little bit of risk. Toby Berry as well here. Marsh, also very solid, very high potential, very small range. So you pretty much know what you're going to get with him. And with these 3 guys kind of on the board, all 3 starting pitchers, I think we're going to go with Gio Tyson. Multiple reasons. Motivation's the highest. He also is the highest projected. He's the lowest MLB rank, so we might be able to even get him all the way to our 3rd pick, but I don't want to risk it. I do want to get a really solid starting pitcher. He may not even play for us. We may trade him or trade one of our other guys. It just depends on what his overall is and potential when he comes in, just because I do want to kind of accelerate getting to the World Series quicker than, probably where he'll be a very pivotal player. And hopefully we can roll in and get Eugene Marsh in our 2nd pick in 49. But if Toby Berry's there as well, we may slide up and get him, but it just depends. But Tyson will be coming to be a Pirate. And the CPU is doing really good at getting these guys, man. Eugene Marsh, they get him at number 19. And then Toby Berry goes 24, so a little lower than the MLB and us projected. So right now, we really only have a handful of picks that we can really choose from that would make sense here. And honestly, after looking at this, I think Chu's going to be our best bet. I know it's a little low, and we have other players like Mackenzie Richards here, but he's discovered, and I think there's a better chance that we can get him later. Same thing with Bridges here, discover player who's in that 43 slot-ish. So I think we're going to get Chu just because people do know about him. I think it's going to be a better risk to wait to get to their guys. Also, if he comes in at a 90 potential, it's going to be a killer pick as our 2nd overall pick. And Richards gets selected by the D-backs a couple pick aheads. It was worth the risk, so we're going to go ahead and pick up Bridges here. Man, we're getting 3 starting pitchers in a row. I don't love that, but the stats are very good for him. A 4-pitch mix, very good hits per 9s both ways. And I think it's a very serviceable pick, especially if he can come with a high overall. He has a capability of 83, which would be absolutely killer for us. And for round 3, we're going to go with the closing pitcher. We still do have that catcher on the board, but he's projected 157th. So we're going to pick up Jeff Hammond and hope that we get lucky for 2 years in a row with a 3rd round closing pitcher. And then at the 120th pick, we're going to go ahead and take Burt here. It's a little bit higher than when he's projected, but I just don't want to risk it because we do need a catcher in our system, especially if we can't get Dalton Rushing later on. And with that potential capability being all the way up to 92 and having him 100% scouted, I think he'll be a very serviceable catcher, even if it doesn't come to the max. And then we're going to pick up Alfonso. Again, another guy who we didn't really scout, but as a relief pitcher, they typically come in higher than what you would expect to. And then for our last pick, we're going to get William Nichols here. He leads with a slider, really good potential capability. Could be a good pick, but we'll have to wait and see. And now we're after the All-Star break, and we're currently in 1st place in the division, 56-41, a game and a half up on the Cubs. And this is honestly, I couldn't expect this to be a thing. For some reason, the CPU, after we did some auto realignment of our lineup, has Marcell Ozuna in the number 1 spot, but he's at 23 bombs, 61 RBIs, Horwitz with a 331, O'Hearn with a plus 300. Reynolds isn't also having a bad season. Connor Griffin in the 6 with a 286, 12 homers, 40 RBI season so far. Sosa not doing too hot. And then Spencer Jones, not too terrible. Triolo there as well. And then Andy Rodriguez not having a bad year as well. But then we move to our rotation. Jared Jones is our ace right now, 356 and 123 whip. Schittler isn't doing too hot at 5.5 ERA, but he is on a hot streak, so hopefully that'll drive that down. Bubba Chandler a 4.5 ish. Ryan Weathers a 4.1, and then Mitch Keller a 4.1 as well. Kind of interesting how we're winning so many games when our rotation isn't too hot. Brooks Raley, a setup man with a 2.27 ERA. Carmen with a 2.7. Strom with a 2.7. So our bullpen's doing very good, at least for the top three guys. So I'm very excited with our standing. And again, I thought this year was going to be more or less a bust. That's kind of why we've kept O'Hearn around, but we should probably move him. I don't think there's really a shot of us winning the division. I mean, we're projected at 87 games, so I guess we could, but I don't know. I don't know what to do. This is kind of really a pivotal moment. We'll play it out to the end of the month and see where things go. And then a huge 4-for-1 trade. Cole Reagans, the Royals ace, will be headed to the Lone Star State for a decent on Aiden Sidelinker and a potential center fielder, a top 10 prospect, and then some other guys who may or may not pan out. And as we were simulating to the end of the month of July, I decided to make a trade. Luis Garcia will be becoming a Pirate, a 313 average, 17 homers. We do give up Thomas Harrington, which is a solid arm in our prospect pool, and Henry Davis, but I don't think Henry Davis is going to be a long-term solution for us. And Harrington is behind such a logjam up at the starting pitcher position. I don't think he'll be missed, but we do get a really solid second baseman who's having a really good year. He's a one-year rental, but we're 64 and 47 at the top of the division. We're not going to get a good draft pick this year, so we might as well try to make a run. And there's also a couple other offers for O'Hearn, but I think at this point, we're going to keep that man with us and see where he can take us, because he's having a stellar year, above a 300 average, nearing in on 20 homers as well. And the same day, Bo Bichette will be headed to the A's for a couple prospects. I'll see potential guys, I guess. Chad Hooper is a little bit higher overall. But interesting trades. I don't think the Mets really got a ton in return for some decent players. They do get 40-something, 50-something million dollars off their books. But here we are with our draft class, and Gio Tyson is a dog. 91 potential, 60 overall, has a home runs per 9 already at 74, so that's going to be really, really good. We also got Chad Chu, another solid starting pitcher, 86 potential this time. Hits per 9 versus lefties, very good, and clutch isn't too shabby. Steven Bridges isn't the greatest player, but he is already 71 overall. He has 77 potential. Could be an arm in our bullpen, maybe as a long relief pitcher. Jeff Hammond, not too shabby. But we did pick up Burt Underwood, a catcher, 43 overall, but 86 potential. It's going to be a long time before he's in the major, but if he does make it there, he'll be pretty solid. And then Alfonso Ojeda, 59 overall, 81 potential. And then the Cardinals, with the number 1 overall pick, had a massive whiff. They do get a closing pitcher at 93 potential, but their number 1 pick, Estevan Gonzalez, is crap. And I think the Rockies had a top 4 or 5 pick, another miss there. And then Luis Santana, a guy who we won and got drafted a couple picks before us, isn't as good as Tyson. He's still solid, has really, really good contact. Probably will be a quick promotion into the majors, especially as a switch hitter for them. I would still love to have him, don't get me wrong, but I think in terms of future potential, I think it's not too bad. And I think also the White Sox had a top pick. And then the only thing I really think we missed on is not picking Eugene Marsh. He's a little bit better than Tyson, but all in all, I think we got a good return. We did miss a little bit on Tyson. He was 1-2 overall less than Marsh there. I'm still very excited about this draft class. I mean, multiple guys above 85 potential. And then we even got Steven Bridges, who's a guy that is already pretty solid, has decent control. The clutch, maybe he won't be a bullpen arm. Maybe he'll just be a trade piece somewhere. But all in all, I think this back-to-back good years, especially as a 15th pick. Next year is going to be even worse because we're probably going to have a top 20th plus pick this coming year. So we may only have this class and last class as our real cream of the crop type of guys. And since O'Hearn's had back-to-back really good years, we're going to offer him a 3-year, $42 million extension to see if he'll stay with us. And he will. So we'll have O'Hearn back for another 3 years. He's been killer for us, and I'm very glad we could sign him. And we'll also sign Luis Garcia to a 3-year extension for $18.5 million deal. Again, we can't offer any free agents longer than a 3-year deal, but I think this is another good pickup. He's been having a stellar year so far. I mean, he's hitting 314 with a 503 slug. Even if he regresses to last season, a near 800 OPS is still going to be really, really solid for us at second base. And we really have two guys on the right side of the infield now that are really good bats for us. And that's exactly what we needed going into our playoff push this year and even down the line in the next couple of seasons. And here we are in the playoffs for the first season. In year number 2, we get a second seed. So we'll take the winner of Philadelphia versus Milwaukee. But man, oh man. We look at our lineup, it was just absolutely crazy. Horwitz is now in the leadoff spot for some reason. He's hitting 300. Marcell Ozuna's hitting 300, had 40 bombs and 110 RBIs. Luis Garcia nearly hits 320 homers. Reynolds with a 29 homer season, 103 RBIs. O'Neal Cruz not too shabby. O'Hearn's not bad. Connor Griffin with a 280, 20 and 80 season. And then even our 8 and 9 hole hitters have hitting about 250, putting up 30 home runs between them. And then we move on to the rotation. Jared Jones has been a solid ace out there, sub 3 ERA, 1-1 whip. Schittler hasn't had that great of a season. He was hurt for a while as well. Bubba Chandler also not having a great year. Ryan Weathers. Mitch Keller actually did have an exceptional year in that 5th hole. And then our bullpen has really been holding us down. I mean, I don't think anybody has a really crazy ERA. Even Strom is now in the closer. We didn't really sign a closer this offseason. I just think this is just a crazy year. I didn't really expect any of that, to be honest. Oh my goodness. Marcell Ozuna barely misses winning the MVP, which, I mean, 6 home runs less, 7 RBIs less, but his average is way better. Oh my goodness, I couldn't believe it. That's so close. Judge will win it in the AL, and I think he's got a 4-peat. Yeah, he's got a 4-peat, and he could have had a 6-peat if he would have won it in 2023. Murakami was in second place in his second year in the league. Shota wins the Cy Young in the NL. Skenes, who we traded to the Yankees, wins it in the AL. Rafael Devers wins the batting title in the NL, and then Vladdy wins it in the AL. Morejon wins reliever of the year award. Cole Sands wins it in NL. And then the rookie of the year goes to Martin Gonzalez, one of those generational prospects that was drafted last year for the Phillies. Xavier Isaacs, who's now in the Rockies, comes in second. And then for the AL, Don Casso, another generational player. Jeffrey Elliott, another guy who was very, very highly rated. So, 3 of the guys that were probably going to win it got really close winning it. And then Jake Mangum will win a Gold Glove out in left field. Marcell Ozuna gets a Silver Slugger for the DH, again, following Shohei Ohtani there. And then Brian Reynolds almost wins a Silver Slugger out there in center field or right field. And all in all, I mean, I think a very, very killer year. And looking at our batting average, we're 6th in the league at 267, right behind the Dodgers. And then for home runs, we're 17th, even though I think we don't have the league leader, but 207, which is, I think, up from last year. I'm not 100% positive. And then for RBIs, we're lucky 777 in 7th place. So maybe that was the luck this season. And then our EA did improve significantly. We went from like 20th or 21st all the way to 11th. So that's one of the jumps we wanted to make, and it did pay off for us, which given even I think our EA last year was a 407, that would have been good for 12th this year. So it's like, I guess this year was just a down year in pitching. And we'll get a look at the standings before we get into some of the playoff stuff. But man, 93 wins, 69 losses. We dominated. Well, we actually really didn't dominate the division. We only were 2 games above 500. And we honestly had a pretty good record. I mean, the Orioles had 102 wins. Yankees had 93. Dodgers had 98. We had 93. Phillies 91. So we were like really, really close to having one of the best records in the league. I think we were like, tied for 4th? But as we get through the first round, we'll be taking on the Brewers, who sweep the Phillies, and then the Braves sweep the Marlins in 2 games. But now we have a homestand of 2 games. Let's see if we can win this first one. We don't. We lose 1-3. Can we win game number 2? Oh no, we lose 2-6. So now we're going to jump into this and manage it and see if we can pull off the reverse sweep. But for our first game we're going to manage, we're going to be here in Milwaukee. We'll have Bubba Chandler on the bump. Hopefully able to get his first win of the playoffs in this rebuild. But as we simulate ahead to the 7th inning, the Brewers are just going to take it to us in the first half. We do get 1 back, but they just get 3 in the 4th and 2 in the 6th. O'Hearn, though, with the solo shot. A good thing we kept him around, but 2 strikeouts doesn't get us much. An error, strikeout, pop out, single. No, he stole a base on a wild pitch. Spencer Horwitz grounds out, fly out. Solo shot from Brian Reynolds, and we're within 3. But an 0 for 3, 0 for 4 day for Ozuna now. Ground out, strikeout, strikeout again. O'Neal Cruz, strikeout. Ryan O'Hearn, another solo shot. And we're back within 2. A walk to Triolo, a single from Joey Bart. And we're actually going to jump in here and take some ABs with Connor Griffin. He's only 1 for 3 today. And we're going to be facing Trevor McGill. He's going to get on that one. He'll take a foul, though. And on a 1-2 count, 2 on. He's going to take that. It's going to go shortstop, and this is going to be a double play ball. Can he leg it out? He does leg it out. Runners at the corners. 2 outs for Spencer Horwitz. He's going to take a hack at it. Oh, and it's going to be up and in. A 101 fastball gets the pop out to first base, and the Brewers will sweep us in our first playoff series. But all in all, great things. I think this is a great run so far. Second season, and we're already in the playoffs. And the Dodgers are going to get the sweep in the World Series to go, 3 out of 4 seasons. Unfortunately, we weren't able to even steal a game against the Brewers. And Mookie Betts will get the MVP of the World Series, a 5.29 average, 2 homers, 7 RBIs. But now it's off to the offseason and see if we can improve this team just a little bit to keep pushing us through the playoff bracket and hopefully to World Series. And we'll have a few guys retire. We also had Max Scherzer retire last year, but I didn't show it. Now we have 3 pretty big names retire and hit the Hall of Fame as well. We're also going to offer Joey Bart a 3-year, $9 million deal. We're not going to try to offer Soto or Marcell Ozuna. I mean, we didn't offer, or we traded Ozuna last year and we're able to re-sign it, so maybe we will this year. And the first signee of free agency is going to be Adley Rutschman. He's going to be returning to the Orioles. And then the same week, Pablo Lopez, a 3-year, $81.5 million deal to go join the Mets. And then Jeremy Pena will return to the Astros for a 6-year, $148 million deal. And then Joe Adele moves up the West Coast. He's going to Seattle. And then Alex Vesia will be moving to the Yankees. Mackenzie Gore will be moving to the A's. And then Logan Gilbert, the number 1 free agent this year, will be headed to the Cubs, which is scary for us because he's in the division. And then the Guardians will pick up Nick Lodolo for 5 years, $142.5 million. And then a massive trade for the Padres. They pick up Spencer Torkelson. And this time it's the Dodgers getting involved in the trade market. Roki Sasaki will head to the Cardinals as Nolan Gorman, Aaron Savale, and Zach Thompson head to LA. And this season we won't even be in the draft lottery, but the Cardinals get another first-round pick. They have so much luck when we're not using them. Rockies fall a couple. Royals move up 3 as well. And we'll get our first signee of free agency. We're going to bring back Joey Bart for just a little bit less than what we offered him before free agency. 3 years, $8.92 million. And we'll get another signing the same week. This time it's going to be a big time closer right outside that top 10 threshold. We sign him for 2 years, just under $13 million. And I think he's going to help us get to the World Series in the next handful of seasons. And then Griffin Jax, another relief pitcher, goes to the Yankees for 3 years, $38.6. He was on the Dodgers last season when they won the World Series. I guess they just didn't want to re-sign him, and he'll head to the East Coast. And we'll also bring back Marcell Ozuna for the 2nd year running, this time for less than $7 million a year. He had 40 home runs last season. If he can even repeat half of that, I'm excited with this signing. And this time, another major closing pitcher signing. It's going to be Felix Bautista. And we have 2 massive relievers now on the roster, and they should really bolster the back end of our bullpen. And finally, William Contreras signs the number 2 free agent in the market, a 4-year, $84.5 million or $84.9 million deal. Feel like it's a pretty cheap for a guy who hit like 320, 25 homers, and nearly 100 RBIs. And this is how year 3 will start out. We're top 6 in contact, top 10 in pitching. And I'm really excited where we stand. Again, the rotation is very much the same. Really haven't switched anything. Same thing with most of our outfield. We did sign Marcell Ozuna back. He's going to be in the DH role. Joey Bart is back as well. Our biggest change is definitely at the relief position. We have Johan Duran. Our closer is going to be extremely nasty if he can just show up. Felix Bautista going to be a nice setup man. Then Matt Strom as well is going to be another setup man. But the one biggest thing that I've seen this year is the fact that O'Neal Cruz got 23.8 million in arbitration. I think I offered him like 17 in arbitration, and the arbiters decided that he deserved 24. So well above what I'm comfortable paying a guy, especially since he can't hit against lefties. 32 contact, atrocious. Everything else is really good. He's 87 overall, but the contact against lefties is abysmal. He's a platoon guy right now as a $24 million guy on our roster. We may decide to move him at some point, but for the time being, we're going to keep the core the same and see if we can make a run back to the playoffs. We snuck in last year, but the team, I think, has gotten a little bit better this year. Obviously, when you add a couple good relief pitchers, that's going to help out a ton. And the farm system is still rocking out as the number one in baseball. Gio Tyson, Paul Burris, Elijah Wells, Walker Jenkins has finally fallen to fourth. He is so close to the MLB. I just don't want to move him up yet because we have Spencer Jones and O'Neal Cruz. Maybe if we trade O'Neal Cruz and we don't get a center fielder back, we can move him up. And we have Seth Hernandez, Kate Anderson, two guys that are really close to being MLB pitchers. Lazaro Montes, another guy out there in the outfield. Barry Holt as well as another pitcher that we picked up a few seasons ago. But outside of Gio Tyson at the number one spot in our organization, there are not really many guys from last season's draft. He's a number 11th prospect in baseball. Will probably jump up to a top 10 at some point this season. I can see a couple of these guys moving off. But I'm pretty excited with this team. I think we have a good chance. We're 14th ranked in the MLB and overall. And I think we have a good shot to make a run to the playoffs. And the CPU's drunk. What is this deal? A B potential designated 33-year-old shortstop for Ryan O'Hearn, who's hit 300 plus in the last two seasons. Just absolutely absurd. And the biggest deal of the season so far, Christopher Sanchez goes to the Twins with Aaron Nola. As it looks like the Phillies are in a full rebuild. They get Richard Ramos, a top 20 prospect, Eduardo Tite, and Stephen Hawkins. And Corey Seager heads back to the Dodgers for Zaire Hope, Rob Velasco, and Zach Root. And with the 26th pick in this year's draft, there's not going to be a ton of top talent we're going to probably get at that rank. Chance Ciccone is a solid player, 93 potential. He's not ranked on MLB's board, but we do have him as a top 10 pick if he even falls that far. Robbie Redmond's another guy that we have that could be a player that we can pick. He's projected to go 28th on MLB's board, 9th on our board, and has a decent potential rating, 77 plus to 92. But my most intriguing player, if we could get him in the first pick, would be Doug Davis. A left fielder that can play all the outfield positions, incredible bat tool, not that great of power, but he is a four-tool player, has really good fielding and speed as well. We have him slated to go number 12. And with this rebuild, the CPU has been really, really good about getting discover players. So hopefully he falls to us, but if not, I can understand why. And then another discovered player is Emerson here. Not as good in the field, but has a really good bat tool and speed. Victor Lopez is another guy here, another outfielder. Doesn't have the greatest bat tool, but does have pretty solid stats elsewhere. But we're not going to spend too much time on these guys because it's kind of a luck if we're going to even get any of them. But Cristobal will go at number 1 to the Cardinals. They haven't had the most success. Actually, did they? I think they got Don Casto, or was that the Angels? Not really sure. Ryan Dudek is a shortstop that goes to the Rangers when they just traded away Corey Seager. And then Les Dukes goes to the Tigers at number 3. And now it's time to see if anybody stole our pick. Nobody on the left-hand side. Robbie Redmond goes 24th. And I think that means we have the pick of the litter here. And we're going to pass on Chance Ciccone just because we have so many pitchers. If he's there in the next slot or even, round 263, we'll probably pick him up. So it's going to be between Doug Davis and Emerson Casilla. I like, obviously, Doug Davis because he's projected a little bit higher. But if you really look at it, the overall is a little bit lower. They're the same age. I mean, honestly, the bat tool is really good. The fielding is really kind of where they differentiate, right? I mean, Davis has a very good glove out there. Emerson, not so much, but you could slot him into the right field position. You wouldn't be too upset about it. He has electric speed as well. But I think we're going to go with Doug Davis here and hope that Emerson is there at the next pick. I think he could be. He's a discovered player. And he's also projected 28th and not like higher. So I think there's a bit of luck. So we're going to go ahead and get Doug Davis and hope that we see Emerson in a second. And look at that. For the first time in this rebuild, two of our discovered players make it through to the next round. We have Chance here and also Emerson. I'm going to go Emerson on this one. Chance is definitely probably the better, more secure pick, but Emerson is a better bat player, and we need more bats because I think we have enough pitchers at this point. So we're going to pick up Emerson and hope that Chance is there. And so we're going to pick him up here as our round 2 pick, or our round 1 compensation pick, I think. And it works out perfectly because Chance is here for us. His K per nines is what really good. His pitch mix is really solid as well. Velocity, good. All the good stuff you want to see out of a young starting pitcher. And we're going to go with another closing pitcher here. We're going to take a risk. I like to do that at round 3. Jose here is very solid and also has really good potential threshold. So we're going to pick him up and hope for the best. And now on to the 4th round. We don't have anybody scouted, so not many options left. But we're going to go with Eloy here and hope that he's going to be a good player. I have no idea if he will be. But you can always get good prospects in the outfield, and hopefully he's one. And round 5 is going to turn us into Henry Garlobo. He was a discovered player that I didn't, for some reason, didn't see last round, but he has a really good potential threshold. If we can get him to capitalize on that, he'll be a massive gift for us as a catcher. I forgot to record a voice over this, but this is our draft class for year 3. Doug Davis, not a bad pick for us. Emerson Casilla, not bad as well. But our best draft pick is going to be our catcher. We drafted pretty late in this draft, 94 potential, 54 overall. So he's probably not a guy we'll see at any point in this rebuild. And year 3 sees us miss the playoffs. We had a really good run in the month of September, winning most of our games. It just wasn't enough to make it back to the playoffs for the second season running. We finished 79 and 83, and we are 4 games out of the wild card. But MVP goes to Tarek Skubal of the Braves, and then Yordan Alvarez also wins it for the AL. Max Fried gets the Cy Young for the AL, and obviously Tarek Skubal, if you're going to win MVP as a pitcher, you're going to get the Cy Young as well. Batting title goes to James Wood and also Yordan Alvarez. Griffin Jackson reliever of the year, Edwin Diaz reliever of the year, and then rookie of the year goes to Fred Mason in the NL from the Cardinals with a couple other guys there. And then Blake Burke, who isn't even in the majors right now, won the rookie of the year for the Tigers. And then Marcell Ozuna almost got the Hank Aaron Award. He put up another 40-homer season, 101 RBIs. He's been absolutely insane for us in this rebuild. Jared Triolo almost got a Gold Glove at third base. Marcell Ozuna won the Silver Slugger at DH, even over Shohei Ohtani and Ronald Acuna Jr. And that's all. We don't have any other awards. But all in all, I think a very solid season. We still end the season with a #1 farm system. And hopefully some of those guys can play roles next season very soon. But even our batting average wasn't too bad this year. 263, which was top 10 in the league. And then for home runs, power hitting, we were tied for 15th with 213. I'm not sure how that places in the last couple of seasons. And then our ERA is going to be way low here. 22nd of 4.61, and definitely this is the major red flag. So we need to pick up some more pitching this offseason and hopefully push us over that line and get us back to the playoffs. But looking at the stats more closely, Spencer Horwitz, for some reason, is in the leadoff spot, but he did hit a 284 season. Marcell is in another 40 homers season we just spoke about. He has nearly 120 homers in the last 3 seasons. He has 412. Not sure that really puts him in all time. O'Neal Cruz at 245. He'll be gone at the end of the year. Sosa with a 287. And then Connor Griffin, who's rounding out the lineup, is a 223, which is down from the years before, even though he went up to an 86 overall this season. Yeah, way down from last year. 280 last year, 286 his rookie year with OPSs above 820. He had a rough season this year, and hopefully he can keep the improvement. He improved 3 overall points, it just wasn't able to get anything done. Walker Jenkins only had 12 at-bats. And that's pretty much all from our bench. But the rotation was really the issue, right? Jared Jones finally got his ERA above a 5, even though the whip wasn't too terrible. Brandon here had a sub-4 ERA. He'll be back next season. Bubba Chandler, not great year this year. Drew Rasmussen, we brought him in as well, a sub, around 3.5 ERA with a 1.1 whip, which is really good. And Ryan Weathers, his ERA bloated a lot towards the end of the year, but his whip is still very good. And then our relief pitching doesn't seem too bad. Ooh, Pedro Avila is a 7.12, not too great. And then Felix Bautista with almost nearly a 6 and a whip around 1.8. And then Matt Strom, not too terrible. And then Johan Duran, another not great performance. So a little bit of the 2 guys that we signed for pretty big dollars for relievers pretty much let us down this year. And the Dodgers are going to go back to back. They have 4 of the World Series in the last 5 years. The only team to win one is the Tampa Bay Rays of all teams. They take down the Twins, and Brooks Raley does retire. So that's going to be a reliever we're going to have to replace this year. And Salvador Perez gets into the Hall of Fame. And Shohei Ohtani gets the MVP of the World Series. The NLCS is Jonathan Aranda. He was huge in our Tampa Bay series, so we know all about him. The William Contreras gets in on the other side, the new Twins that was just signed this offseason. And the offseason starts off absolutely scorching. Hunter Goodman goes to the Guardians. Brenton Doyle and Victor Von Nick goes as well. And then the Rockies get one top prospect in return and then an aging starting pitcher. Not really sure about that trade. And the Cardinals and A's, the A's seem like they're always involved in trades. They get Matthew Liberatore and Johan Rojas for Luis Valencia, which is going to be a decent prospect, and then another aging starting pitcher, and then a second baseman who doesn't look too hot. And then Josh Hader will be the first free agent off the board, number 9, 3 years, 17.2 per year. He'll be headed to Boston. And we'll ink our first deal, and this time it's going to be a catcher, and it's going to be Sean Murphy, right outside the top 10. 3 years, $15 million deal. We probably got him for cheap because there were so many catchers in the free agent market, and we are going to get a massive steal for the next handful of seasons. He's going to be huge for us behind the dish, and now Joey Bart can be a backup platoon guy. But it's not done there. Tyler Glasnow is going to the A's. Ronald Acuna Jr. stays in Atlanta, and then Byron Buxton goes to New York City to wear those pinstripes. He had a solid year last year, and he's going to make $44.2 million deal. And the Cardinals seem to be selling. They trade Mason Wynn to the Braves for Cam Caminiti. And the White Sox are buyers this offseason. They get Helio Ramos, Randy Rodriguez, and Landon Raup for a handful of prospects, and Tim Elko, who's an aging first baseman. But the White Sox may be looking to make a push this season. And Hunter Brown, a top 5 free agent, goes to Boston for nearly a decade. And then a huge 4-for-4 trade. Alejandro Kirk and a couple other players from the Blue Jays will be headed to Atlanta for a couple prospects, IKF as well. Interesting trade there. And then Gunnar Henderson is going to sign an 11-year deal, $416 million deal. I think that's the longest deal we've seen in this rebuild. And we'll bring in Eugenio Suarez for 1 season. The power bat is hopefully going to hit us some home runs and replace Marcell Ozuna's 40 home run last 2 seasons. And then Logan Webb, another starting pitcher, goes to New York for 3 years, 105. And we'll get another free agent signing. This time it's a massive get. We get a massive discount, $6 million off for a 3-year deal on a 90 overall, a potential starting pitcher. And I'm very excited to announce our new ace into the organization. And this time we'll drop one from 12th to 13th, and the Blue Jays are going to jump 7th. We never get that lucky. And then LA is just going to keep building up, trying to win their 5th in 6 years as they get George Kirby for the next 5 seasons. And then Yordan Alvarez, the number 2 free agent, goes to the Orioles for a 9-year, $424 million deal. I think they almost have $1 billion in him and Henderson alone. And we also get Wilson Contreras this time, a 1-year, $13 million deal. And we are trying to make it back to the playoffs and push for World Series. We're making a lot of big moves this offseason. And we're going to bring back an old friend for the 3rd year in a row. He's hit 40 home runs in the last 2 seasons. The year before they hit 36. So if he can repeat that, again, if he can even do half of that, it's going to be a massive signing. And then Rafael Devers gets traded back to the Red Sox along with Lou Bob for Robert Castero, Tommy Rigdon, and then Solomon Murdoch. Probably 3 guys we're not going to see do anything. But I can't believe that the Red Sox get back Devers, especially when you think about the real world life implications this would mean. It's pretty funny. And then Framber Valdez inks a 1-year deal with the Red Sox. And this year could be our year. We have assembled the best roster we have so far. We have a top 10 pitching staff, a top 6 catcher, a top 8 right fielder, and then we have a top 8 bullpen. And also all of our infield is in the top, 15-ish. And then the outfield's a little bit worse for wear, but I'm not too worried about that. I think we have some good players there. They're just a little bit underrated. I think all in all, this is a very solid team. Our defense is pretty abysmal. Not gonna lie, we really haven't focused on defense at all, but hopefully that doesn't bite us in the back. And the Rockies are looking to make a good push this season. Grayson Rodriguez will be acquired from them from the Angels for Blake DeYoung, who is actually a really good top prospect, 72 overall, a potential. Could be a huge acquisition for the Angels, but they'll probably screw it away like they do everything else. And the Cubs look like they're going to be rebuilding as they trade Shota to the Marlins for Tyler Stephenson and Barney Perez. Interesting trades. They trade for a 1-year rental and not a very good prospect. And they're also going to trade Nico Horner to the Rangers for Ryan Dubek, a B potential shortstop, a top 20 in the league. And the White Sox are going to acquire Joey Ortiz, a shortstop with B potential who hit the 30-year-old mark for a couple prospects going to the Brewers. And it looks like our division's starting to sell off some players. So that could be a good thing for us winning it this year. And then a top 15 prospect's going to be traded to the Astros for Trent Grisham as he'll be headed to the desert. And the White Sox are going to keep acquiring. They get Matt McClain, a second baseman at 85 overall, for Noah Schultz, a former top prospect, Cole Cartwright, and Riku Nishida as well. And after all the trades this season, we are finally here at the draft. And we honestly have a great pool of players. Off the top is going to be Steven Gomez. He's projected to go number 2 on our board, 15th on MLB's board, right above where we're situated. So we could pick him up and get a massive haul, 81 to 96 potential on him. And then Julian here as well, very good potential. He's a Discover player projected to go in the top 3. He has very good contact. Fielding's not too great, and speed really isn't as well. He's pretty much just a bat to ball type of guy, it looks like. And then Derek Law is a starting pitcher who looks pretty good. Jumped from 24th to 5th. Doesn't have the greatest potential. Probably won't be somebody that we select. And then we also found another catcher, Bobby Matlock. We've been drafting catchers pretty late in the draft these past few seasons, but he could be one of the better ones we've seen, coming in with a decent overall and really good potential. And then Lou Vanier, another guy who is a Discover player who we have projected to go in the top 60. But I'm not going to spend too much time on it. We're going to go ahead and get in this draft. We'll see who we get here in a second. Ricky Bagley goes number 1 to the Royals, and they get a starting pitcher. Phillies select Andreas Almanzar, starting pitcher as well. So back-to-back starting pitchers off the top. And then you have Ashton Munoz, a right fielder with looks like to be very, very solid potential. And then, of course, Steven Gomez goes 5th overall, jumps up a ton. Marshall Newcomb, another guy we scouted who went from 50th to 14th, goes 7th overall. And so now it's our turn to kind of pick where we're going. I think it's going to obvious. I think it's Julian here. He's the best on the board still a bat to ball type of guy. We could go with Derek Law, but again, I don't think we really need starting pitching at this point. And we're not going to overthink it. We're just going to go Julian and see how it works out in a couple weeks. And then another obvious pick here, Charles Feliciano, a Discover player. Starting pitcher, we don't really need him, but he's the best available to us, so we're going to pick him up. And then we have 2 Discover players here, Matlock and Vanier. We talked about them a second ago. We're going to go with Matlock here. He's a switch batter, very, very solid. Fielding's great, even if he could just be a fielding guy. I think he'll be good for us. And then we're going to go back to closing pitcher. We're going to get Craig Rosenberg here. He has a very small potential threshold, so I think he's going to be solid. You never know, but we've been pretty lucky in the past. Now it's on to the late rounds. We don't have anybody scout anymore, so we're going to pick up Leo Escalano. He seems to be maybe possibly a good potential. We're going with Carmen here. He's a Discover player. Doesn't really look to be that good, but he is a Discover player. We might as well take a shot. And then for our last pickup, we're getting Mitchell Logan here. A very quick draft, but honestly, at this point in the rebuild, there's not much to discuss. We just need to win a World Series. And finally, Marcell Ozuna makes a home run derby. He's had 40 home runs in the last 2 seasons. He has 27 this season, and this is his first year making it. It's absolutely absurd. And all things considered, it's actually kind of crazy how consistent he's been for us. I don't know if it's the field or what, but Marcell Ozuna has been an absolute dog in this rebuild. And he's been hitting absolute nukes. 438 on that one. That one's 391. And I think we could possibly win this thing if we keep this up. The energy's running out pretty quick. But if we have a chance here, he's going to hit some absolute bombs. Not good enough. 1 out remaining. And that one's going to be short as well, off the wall. 14 in the first round. 467 foot is the longest he has. Let's see if we make it to the next round. And unfortunately, we don't. We'll come in 3rd to last. O'Neal Cruz, who's on the Brewers now, only had 11. Manzardo with 24. 20 between Wallner and Caminero as well. Shohei Ohtani with only 16. So we weren't too far off in this one. And Manzardo gets it by 1 as he'll win the 2020, 8 or 9 home run derby. And year 4 of our rebuild, we have still yet to get an all-star starter. I don't know how that's possible. I feel like we've had some really good seasons from people, especially Azuna. He just doesn't get a start. I guess maybe he could get a start at DH. We just don't really know. But at the all-star break, we're 52-44, and we are 4.5 games up on the Brewers. The Cubs and Reds have sold basically everybody in the roster, so they're going to probably keep sliding back in the rankings. So as long as we can stay a handful of games of the Brewers, I think we're going to be pretty comfortable shoo-ins for a playoff spot. And then a couple more trades right after the All-Star break. Francisco Alvarez is going to be injured, but he's headed to the desert for Antonio Garcia. And then Hunter Green is going to be leaving the Reds for Travis Benzana and Ralphie Velasquez. And then the Twins are going to pick up Shane McClanahan for Brooks Lee and Sean Gonzalez from the Rockies. And we'll get our blockbuster trade this season. It's going to be Andrew Abbott from the Reds for Edward Florentino and Chad Chu. We drafted Chad Chu a handful of seasons ago in 2027. Florentino's been on a team since we started this, and he's a really solid player, 75 overall, a top 100 prospect, 22 years old. I think they got a good deal. I mean, Abbott is only on a 1-year deal, 25.6, so we're not paying that full amount, but he's been killer, and we needed to round out our playoff 3. I think we have 2 really solid options at the top of our rotation, Michael King and Jared Jones. I just think we needed a third one. Brandon isn't solid. Bubba Chandler's been rough this year, and so has Braxton Ashford, who was actually in the bullpen for a time until we moved Seth Hernandez, who's had a really bad season. But all in all, I think we needed to make this move, and I think it's going to work out for us in the long haul. And we're going to be really able to put pressure on teams in the playoffs. And for this year's draft, I think we did a pretty good job as well. Julian with an 89 potential, 66 overall as a second baseman. A very good bat total on him. Charles Feliciano, another solid player. For his per 9 versus lefties and K per 9 versus righty, very solid from the lefty. 88 potential, 64 overall. Bobby Matlock, 75 potentials, 57 overall. Probably not going to play a big role at any point in the future. And then Craig Rosenberg, a very solid player, 70 overall as a closing pitcher. Could be a reliever arm next season if we don't win the World Series, if all things work out. And then relief pitcher Escalano, Carmen also, he's definitely the worst pick here, 64 overall, 64 potential. And then Mitchell Logan, a guy we just picked up at the end of the draft, 88 potential. I'm telling you, this is why you draft relief pitchers at the end of the draft. I think the Blue Jays had the overall number 1 pick, or maybe they did last year. They didn't have a good draft this season. And of course, the Reds get a generational player, Benito Castilla, 99 potential, 79 overall. He's going to be a very, very solid player for the Reds, but I think that's the only generational player I've seen. Everybody else is pretty typical. A couple teams made bad choices and whatnot, but all in all, I think our team did really well. I like our draft class. 2 solid guys, but again, these guys probably won't see the light of day in this rebuild. And of course, as soon as we trade for somebody, they have to go and get injured. Thankfully, it's only a couple days, so he'll be back soon. And as we come into the end of the year, thankfully our division was terrible. We had a terrible last 2 months in the season. I mean, just looking here, we lost a ton of games in September and August, even though at the front half of the year, we made some really good moves. I mean, we've been hanging around 500 for the most of the time, but we'll match up with the Rockies here in the first round. So we're going to go ahead and jump straight into this. We'll at least have the series at home. And sometimes I love the CPU. Marcell Ozuna is on his 3rd consecutive 40 home run season. For some reason, they decided to demote him during the playoffs. He has a 900 OPS. I don't care if he's 69 overall. He has 40 homers. What are we doing? So we're going to have to move him back up. We're going to adjust the lineup. Then we'll get into the Rockies game. But now that we have fixed everything, we're going to simulate the first game. Oh my goodness. We're going to jump in and manage this one because there is no way. But now we're down 1 game in the series. So we're going to come back and hopefully win game 2 and 3 if we want to make it to the divisional round. And we're going to give Jared Jones the start here at home. Hopefully he can get us into the next game. He had a solid season this year. We just need 1 more great outing from him. But now on to the 7th inning. We'll get a couple hits in the first and we'll score 3 runs and 3 in the 3rd as well. As we're going to simulate this top of the 7th. They get a run back. They don't get one in the 8th. We get another in the 8th or bottom half. We're going to change the picture. Well, we're 5 runs up. We'll go ahead with Felix Bautista and see if he can get us through here. Not a great start. A double from Adel Amador, a strikeout, back-to-back strikeouts. And now it's time to see if we can get the final out here. Runner in scoring position. And we are 1 strike away from tying this series up. It's going to be a swing and miss in the dirt. And I'll be thrown to first base. That is out. And we're going to be back here for game number 3 to see if we can take down the Rockies. But Connor Griffin, massive performance. 2 triples today with an RBI. Sean Murphy also gets some scoring with a homer and 2 RBIs. Jake Mangum, also a nice performance as well. But now in game 3, the Rockies are going to get 1 in the top half. Shutout in the second. Third, also blanked. But the boys do get some run support for Michael King in the bottom half of the third. A single from Contreras. A 2-run shot from Sosa will put us up by 3. And then another triple from Connor Griffin, the third of the series so far, the third I know about, gets us 3 in the bottom half of the 4th. And the boys are going to go up and get another 6th spot in the 5th. So we're going to just go ahead and fast forward here. I don't think they really have a chance to come back. Top of the 8th, zeros. Now on to Michael King. He's going to go a full game. Oh, we have a chance to go a full game shutout. 2 balls now. We're going to go with the circle change. That's going to be, oh, we're going to challenge that one. I want to see if we can challenge it. That looks in the zone. Am I crazy for that? Am I crazy for that? No, I'm not. On the corner. We're going to call that strike 2, baby. That was an actual dot to get the Pirates to the next round, the divisional series, and he strikes out Ritter to get us the 2nd win of the wild card and move us on. Sosa with 2 homers, 3 for 5 today. Connor Griffin also 3 for 5. So was Brian Reynolds. Jake Mangum was 2 for 4. Griffin with nearly a cycle. And Michael King, 9 innings, 1 earned run. Outside of that first inning, he was shut out. Absolutely absurd. And now we face the Dodgers and immediately go on the road. I don't know if that would actually happen. Would they go back to back like that from a series to series? I don't think so. But now we face the bad Dodgers, and they'll take the 1-run win in the first game. And after losing game 1, Brandon Pfaadt will even us up here as the series goes 1-1. Pfaadt did allow 4 earned in his 6 2/3, but we did pretty good of keeping them off the board the rest of the game. Spencer Jones and Jake Mangum also hit home runs, with Brian Reynolds also getting 2 RBIs. And Mangum also has 3 in this game. 6 for the series is absurd, especially coming out of that 9-hole. But now we're going to simulate through game number 3. And we get the win 12-7 in a very high scoring game here. Brandon Lau, who's now on the Dodgers, comes up with a couple doubles. Ryan O'Hearn with 2 doubles. Connor Griffin with a homer, his 3rd of the series. O'Hearn another homer as well. Griffin had 4 RBIs. O'Hearn had 8 RBIs in this game. And those 2 guys did all of our scoring in this one. And coming out, Andrew Abbott had a miserable start. Only going a 1/3 of an inning. We had to go very heavy bullpen game, but we were able to keep them pretty quiet until later parts of the game into the 8th inning. But Bautista did get a hold. I mean, even though he allowed 2 runs, we were still able to win by 4. Now on to game 4. And we'll even the series back up. So now it's on to LA. We're going to get in this one and take a look and see if we can get the series win and move on to the next round. But for all the marbles in the NLDS, we have a chance to get to the championship series for the first time in a very, very long time. And Jared Jones on the bump for us. He's been the ace so far this year. But getting to this last game of the series is going to be a very hard task to take down the Dodgers on the road. But Connor Griffin goes solo shot to put us up early. Another solo home run by Contreras, but Brandon Lau, the former Pirate, gets one back. But another solo shot. First 3 innings, 3 solo shot. This one by Azuna. And we're going to be up 3-0 as we head into the later stages of this game. Another solo shot. This time O'Hearn. Contreras with the single to get back. and the boys get 4 in the 7th inning. We're going to simulate the top half of the 8th and the bottom half. Nothing coming of it. A single from Griffin, who's 3 for 4 today. He's been killer. He has like above a 500 average in this series, but 2 back-to-back strikeouts will get us out of the inning. But we'll go in and take a look and see what we can get done here in the bottom of the 9th. We have a 5-run lead, so it should be a pretty easy win here. And a 1-2 count coming, swings and misses. Duran with the 1-0-2 heater to get Barger out, to get the first out of the inning. Another 1-2 count. Can he go back-to-back strikeouts? This time on Paez. No, but Paez gets a good rip at it. That's going to be out to left field, but they're going to be able to run it down. Second out of the inning, and we're 1 out away from advancing to the championship series. But Jonathan Aranda stands in our way. He was killer in our Tampa Bay series as he swings through that 100-mile-per-hour fastball. Hopefully one more pitch. 2-2 count, 2 outs. That one's going to miss low. He's hitting a 316 average, 4 RBIs, and a homer in this series. One more pitch. Duran, does he have it? That's going to be popped up. First baseman gets over there. Contreras under it. And he's going to make the play as the Pirates advance to the championship for the first time in a very, very long time. I'm not sure how many years it was. I'll put it on screen when I go back and edit this. But man, oh man, only a few games away from a World Series now in our, 3rd or 4th season. And after that win, it's on to take the Diamondbacks. First game, we get absolutely destroyed, but we do get it back there in the second. Another absolute butt kicking there, but we get another 5-4 win in game 4. And the last one at home. Can we win game 6? No, we don't. And the Pirates are going to eliminate the Pirates here. Did I say the Pirates are going to eliminate the Pirates? The Diamondbacks eliminate the Pirates to advance to the World Series. All in all, I'm thinking not a terrible performance. Obviously, we would have loved to do better, but after going to the season with 81-81, not a great record. I think very impressive. We also had some really great performances, most notably Connor Griffin, a 436 average, 5 homers, 16 RBIs, and 55 at-bats. Ozuna continuing his dominance, 2 homers in the playoffs. Reynolds also really, really solid as well. And then Jake Mangum also coming out of that 9-hole with a 333 average, 3 homers, and 9 RBIs. So everybody was pitching in. We just couldn't get it done in advance of the World Series. But pitching was really where we got let down. Andrew Abbott got absolutely destroyed in one of the games that we saw at 874 with almost nearly a 2 whip. Michael King, exceptional. Jared Jones, not as great as you would like to see from a 90 overall player. Bubba Chandler, pretty rough as well. And Brandon Fat as well. All 4 of our 5 starters did pretty abysmal. Our ace who we just traded for the rental didn't really provide what we thought he was going to. So really unfortunate. Mason Montgomery absolutely got destroyed and shelled in 5 in the 3rd. Duran also not great performance. So our pitching staff definitely needs a lot of work. That's something we're going to have to pick up this offseason. And this time it'll be the Red Sox taking home the World Series 4-2 over the D-backs in 2029. And also 2029 we'll see Chris Sale and Freddie Freeman going to the Hall of Fame. Freddie Freeman goes as a Brave rather than a Dodger, which is interesting enough. And this was a year I was worried about. So many free agents coming up. Andrew Abbott, who we just traded for. Jared Jones. Our other guy that was an ace for a while. Duran's leaving. Batista's leaving. Triolo. Wilson Contreras. Linian Sosa. Eugenio Suarez, who was down in AAA for the playoffs. Carmen Madonsky, I think is how you pronounce it. And Marcell Ozuna, who we may sign again just because he's been absolutely crazy. 340 home run season. Now at 452 in his home run career. Just insane. I mean, he's 69 overall. We may just keep him around for the vibes, but we're gonna have a lot of issues re-signing a lot of players. Again, with the 3-year, $20 million cap that we have for ourselves, it's going to be really hard. We're not going to be able to sign probably any of these. Maybe Duran or Felix Bautista if we want to bring him back, but we'll have to see how free agency pans out. And start this offseason off, we're going to see Ellie De La Cruz go to the Braves for a 12-year deal, $406 million. I feel like that's a little bit underpaying for such a good player. And then Paul Skenes goes to the Orioles from the Yankees, and he's going to be insane there. And to recap some of the trades that happened this offseason, one of the first ones was Dylan Cruz for a 1-for-1 for Scotty Carlson, and a potential shortstop who was drafted in 2027, as the Red Sox strengthened that AL East, who just saw Paul Skenes stay within the division. Trade number 2 is going to be an 8-person trade. Pablo Lopez, TJ Friedel, Dennis Santana, JT Ginn, all going to the Marlins from the New York Mets, who sent Thomas White, a B potential starting pitcher, Sherwood Haffey, a guy that was drafted in 2028, Andreas Parra, and PJ Morlando all go to the Mets, or vice versa. They're going to the Mets. These guys are going to the Marlins. I'm not sure exactly what I said. And then Jared Jones inks a 7-year, $220 million deal. He was a top 10 free agent, but also we can never match that either. And then Jason Dominguez was another trade. He goes to Chicago for the White Sox for Dudley Moeller, who was drafted just this past season, a 72 overall B potential player from second base, a top 100 prospect, and Johnny Green. And our first signing of the offseason is going to be Tim Herron. He's a lefty reliever, which is a position we needed. I mean, Mason Montgomery was abysmal in the postseason, so we picked up another 1 year, $7 million deal. And then the A's also get Hunter Green to strengthen that rotation. Andrew Abbott's going to the Dodgers. Wyatt Langford stays in Texas with the Rangers for a 6-year, $184. And then Case Smith goes to Boston. And the Mets are sellers again. They trade Shane Baz to the Marlins for Kevin Novoa. And also Paxton Schultz is here as well. And our second signing is going to go to strengthen the bullpen once again. Ryan Walker, who just won Reliever of the Year award. I think he was with the Astros, a 2-year, just over $11 million deal. And the White Sox are strengthening up once again. They get Christopher Sanchez this time for a 1-year rental for $32 million. The Mets look like they rigged the lottery as they jump up 11 spots. The Cubs jump up 7 as well. And if you looked at it just by record, we would be like, I think the 14th or 15th pick since we made it so far in the playoffs. We're going to be the 27th. Just an insane turnaround, even though we're like 26 plus games behind 2 of the teams right in front of us. And our third and probably final signing of the offseason is going to be Jordan Westburg, a 3-year, $16 million deal. Not too expensive, but it improves the hot corner immensely for us. He had like an 820 OPS plus season last year, so I'm really excited to bring him in. And then one of the last signings of the offseason is going to be a 9-year, $232 million deal for Zach Neto, as he's going to Seattle from the Angels. And I was spoke too soon. Byron Buxton inks a 1-year, $396, basically $40 million deal to go back to I think he was on the Yankees, so he goes back to the Yankees for another year. And looking at our team for the 2030 season, I think we have a solid roster of players. Right now, we're ranked 13th. At shortstop, we have Lambar Jr., but that's because Connor Griffin's currently hurt. Once he gets back, he'll be moved into that spot. The playoff 3 of Michael King, Bubba Chandler, and Brandon Pfaadt also don't look too bad. We also have Hunter Barco and Kate Anderson rounding out the rotation. Seth Hernandez is currently in the bullpen. That may change. Luis Garcia is here for again. So is Sean Murphy, Joey Bart, and I think Spencer Horwitz are going to switch with the DH role. Brian Reynolds will probably head back to right field, and Rauner will move to first base. But all in all, I think it's really good. We also see Spencer Jones and then finally Walker Jenkins make his debut into the MLB ranks. One of the top prospects for a long time now is going to take this step up. We may see a couple other guys. I mean, we may see Lombard Jr. make the move. We may see Barry Holt make the move. So there's some time to get some prospects into the MLB ranks. And after back-to-back seasons of not finishing above 500, I think this is the year we kind of finally push into the playoffs and push really deep. We lost an NLCS last year to the Diamondbacks. Hopefully we don't repeat that. We make it to the World Series this time and hopefully win it in year 5. One of the first trades of the 2030 season was when Abner Uribe headed to the Dodgers, who was on a 1-year rental for Pedro Vega, a potential relief pitcher who was drafted in 2028 2 seasons ago and looks pretty good as they got him in return. But the Dodgers get a very, very good closer. And Zach Gallen also gets traded to the Rangers for a couple of prospects from the Rays. And the Rays are in full sell-off mode as they trade Junior Caminero, still only 26 years old, to the Kansas City Royals with a couple other guys. They get Walter and a B potential prospect that was drafted in 2027 back, and a couple other faces. And in year 5, we'll finally get an all-star starter. Jordan Westburg finally gets a start at third base for the Pirates. And after the All-Star break, we decided to make a few trades. One to improve our starting rotation. That's going to be Sandy Alcantara for Eloy Villasmil, a prospect we drafted in 2028. He was one of our top prospects. He'll be the Padres' #1 prospect. And we also traded Mason Montgomery. They needed a relief pitcher who was fairly young and has some good potential. And then we also got Kyle Manzardo for Lazaro Montez, a player we traded for a handful of years ago. Then Julian here as well. Second baseman who we drafted in 2029, who was one of our top prospects. He's a top 20 prospect in the league, was very good, but at this stage in the game, I think we're looking to win the World Series rather than develop prospects. And that'll put Kyle Manzardo squarely in our lineup at the 3 hole. He has 34 bombs this season, 81 RBIs, and he's been absolutely killer for the Guardians. So now we pick him up with nearing in on a 940 OPS. And then Alcantara will be our ace for the remainder of the year. He has a sub-4 ERA, a whip around 1.2, has 132 punch-outs, and only 111 innings. Very solid. That's going to move Kate Anderson to the bullpen, but him and Hernandez have struggled this year in their first seasons in the MLB. Hunter Barco actually hasn't been that bad, so he's going to stay in the rotation for us, and that's going to be our 5-man rotation for the rest of the season. And with having the 26th pick, I didn't expect this, but our draft class is absolutely crazy this cycle. We have Gene Morin, a 19-year-old prospect, 60 overall, 90 potential, has electric speed, still needs to develop in the box and definitely in the field. Anthony Rodriguez, a second baseman, 94 potential, 60 overall, has really good contact against lefties, but pretty raw everywhere else. And then Dorian Hahn, a starting pitcher at 21 years old, 93 potential, 65 overall, probably our best prospect out of the gate. And then we have Jose Sixto, a closing pitcher with 60 potential and 81 potential, 60 overall. Ricky Mack, a 94 potential, 65 overall closing pitcher. So we went with 2 closing pitchers this time, and we got a really good one, and not too bad. And then Julian Montana is a relief pitcher at 84 potential, 54 overall. Really good Ks per 9 versus righties. And then Darryl Doss is just a guy we picked up. And the Mets had the first pick. They're going to take David Takiki, a solid starting pitcher with 90 potential. And then the Tigers take Jimmy Haskett, another solid player at shortstop, 84 potential, 61 overall. And then with the third pick, Lee Walter goes to the Royals, and they actually got a pretty solid draft as well, a couple 90-plus potential players. And we by far had the best draft in this class. I don't think we'll probably see any of these players make the MLB roster at any point during this rebuild, but they could be a trade piece if we don't win the World Series this season. And we'll end the 2030 season at the top of the NL Central, and that means we have a easy wild card spot for us. I think the Dodgers are the only 100-win team, so we don't have to face them yet. But looking at the bracket, we'll have to take down the Reds first before we can get a shot at the Marlins. Then hopefully we can avoid the Dodgers going into that NLCS if we make it there. But looking at the MVP race, Kyle Manzardo came just short of James Wood. He had 2 more RBIs, 1 less homer, but James Wood had a 323 average. And then on the other side, Riley Green will go over to Orioles, and then Paul Skenes goes back-to-back on his Cy Young on 2 different teams this time. George Kirby comes in first, Pablo Lopez in second. Then Brandon Pfaadt had a killer year, 19-5, a sub 3.5 ERA with 170 punch-outs as well. Not too shabby. He is a free agent in the year, though, unfortunately. Shohei Ohtani takes a batting towel. Yordan Alvarez does as well. AJ Puck. And then Ryan Walker, the guy who we signed out free agent this year, sub 2 ERA, very solid year. He'll go back-to-back as well, but this time in 2 different leagues. He got one last year for the Red Sox. And then Jet Williams, who was drafted in 2022. He's 26 years old. He's been in the minors for a long time, but finally gets up and wins. And then Franklin Arias, a guy who was undrafted, probably came into the game already on somebody's roster. So no Rookie of the Years from draftees this year. And Yordan Alvarez and Shohei Ohtani will win the Hank Aaron Awards for the respective leagues. And then going for the Gold Glove, Sean Murphy comes in 3rd place. Did anybody else? Jake Mangum won back-to-back. He's been really solid out there in left field for us. And then Silver Slugger Sean Murphy comes in 2nd. Kyle Manzardo obviously comes in 1st. Luis Garcia gets his at 2nd. Jordan Westberg at 3rd. And then Connor Griffin just short of J.J. Weatherholt for winning his first Silver Slugger. And then do we have anybody in outfield? No. But looking at our stats compared to the league, we were 12th in batting average. Not too shabby. Top, that's top 12 teams or playoff teams, so not too upset about that. And then looking at power hitting, we had 247, a top 18. Very impressive. I mean, Manzardo helped out a ton with 50 bombs. I'm sure he's in the top 3 or 4 in the league this year. Jordan with 56, so I'm sure he was probably 1st or 2nd place. And looking at team ERA, it was a little bit rough. We were at 13th with a 4.4, which is a little bit high, I feel like. I mean, looking up at the top teams, you have the Marlins with a sub 3.6. Oh my goodness. We have to play them round 2 if we win round 1. Dodgers up there sub 4. So handful of teams sub 4. We need to work on that. But I think the pickup of Contra is going to be really solid for us in the playoffs. But now it's time to take on the Reds and see if we can get this 2 wins at home. First game of the series didn't go as planned. We lost 3-6, but hopefully we can get them back in game number 2 here. We do 10-6. We win this. Game number 3, can we get the series win? And we do, and we're on to the we're out of the wild card round, onto the divisional round to take on the Marlins, who are looking very, very scary this year. And just looking at this team, Steve Torres is a generational player that was drafted the first season here. He's 96 overall A potential. He absolutely rakes. Oh my goodness. Looking at his career, he's been in the major for 4 seasons. He has a 837 OPS season, which is actually down from his previous 2 years. They have Vinny Pasquantino, Pablo Lopez, Bryce Terang, Yuri Perez, Shane Baez, Austin Hayes. They are very, very stacked. So this is going to be a very tough series. But if we can win early, I think we'll have a chance. 5-8 goes the Marlins away. We do get one back, 7-2. We put a ton of runs up in this one. Let's look at the stats here. Home runs from Westburg and Jones. RBIs, 3 RBIs from Westburg, 2 from Reynolds as well. Hunter Barco went 4 1/3, allowed 2, so his ERA is a little bloated, but the bullpen came in and saved the day pretty much. But can we come back and get win number 2 here? Oh my goodness, we don't. And now we got to win 2 before we go home. And now it's game number 5. We got to get in and watch this one and see if we can take the win. And game number 5 will see us without 2 of our biggest bats, Brian Reynolds and Sean Murphy, both injured in the last game. That could be a really big hindrance for us to get on early, especially since Pablo Lopez, who he actually kind of destroyed in game number 1. So we can repeat that. We have a good shot here, but I'm not too hopeful. But to start us off in this one, it's going to be a Griffin single. Garcia strikes out back-to-back, and then 3 straight outs. Doesn't get anything going in the top half, but we get a 3 straight out in the bottom half. Oh my gosh, 2 groundouts and a fly-out, really killing us. Norby strikes out a single after a stolen base. An error gets Spencer Jones on. Griffin strikes out, fielder's choice out of the inning. So it's been shutties for the first 3 innings. Manzardo gets us started. The 2-run shot from Jordan Westburg to put us up, and it keeps on coming. Single from Jenkins, and then a double play to get us out. But we're up 2-0 here. Another 3-out or a 3-batter inning there. Nothing happened in the top of the 5th. A leadoff, and then a double there from Lopez. We do get the ground out. Strikeout for Hicks, and then now Herberto Hernandez on. He's batting .222. This should be a situation for us. Michael King, he can get out of here with a ground out. He does, right to Connor Griffin, and he will stay scoreless through the 5th. So after back-to-back flyouts and a ground out, we don't get anything going in the 6th or 7th, or is it the 6th? It was the 6th. Oh my goodness, I can't think. And now on to the top half of 7th. Fly out from Jenkins, pop out, ground out, another 3-out inning or a 1-2-3 inning, and a triple from Lopez. Can we get, oh good, thank God we get Bader on a ground out. Mangum with a double, and that's going to bring Connor Griffin up. He can get a hit to get us a little bit of run insurance. We're up 2-0, and that's going to be right down the middle. He swings right through it. 2-2 count now, runner in scoring position for the young shortstop. Oh, and he absolutely hangs it, but he's just a little late, and that's going to go foul. Another pitch is at bat. I think this is like number 7 of the at bat. Can Connor Griffin finally get one? And he's going to swing over something that's nearly in the dirt. The cutter wasn't even close, as he'll sit down Griffin. And they'll go ahead and yank a lefty for a righty here and bring in Fitz to face Garcia, who's 0 for 3 today. And he's 3 for 20 on the season or in the series. His really only big hit's a double. But with the situation here, righty versus lefty could lead to good things. That's going to be an easy fly out for the left fielder. But now we just got to take it 1 pitch at a time. Michael King still going solid. He gets the ground out there on Hicks. He gets a fly out for Torres. For Hernandez, and Torres with a solo shot to get him back within 1. But the ground out gets him out of the 8th inning. A walk for Manzardo. Fielder's choice, first out. Jenkins strikes out and a fly out. And now it's time to make the biggest decision. We're going to have to go with Ryan Walker. He's been so killer all season. We're going to give him the ball here. He does give up a single. Oh, my goodness. And a walk. Oh, my goodness. Bases loaded. He's got to get 3 outs. Holy crap. And 3 outs coming up. Oh, can Walker get out of this? Oh, my. He's literally won reliever of the year. He's got to come through here. All right, up the middle. That's going to tie the game. Are they going to send him? He's going to throw it in from home or center. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. The Marlins walk us off. Oh my goodness. He's been so good all year. What is going on? Oh my Lord. Right up the gut, too. Oh, that was easy. It looked like a BP fastball. And although we were up most of the game, we really didn't do that well. We only had 5 hits today. I mean, and then Walker just comes in and blows it. I mean, he didn't get a single out. 2 hits, 2 walks, 2 earned runs. After winning reliever of the year award, just absolutely killer. And the Dodgers will take the whole World Series home this time. I couldn't look back and see how many they've won, but you all probably know at this point. But I feel like they won a few in this rebuild alone, and they take down the Mariners in 6 games. And this year we'll see the retiree of 3 players, none other bigger than Marcell Ozuna. Man, he's going to go in as a Pirate as well. He hit like almost 200 homers with us. He finished with 467. I don't know where he was in free agency. I was trying to look for him. I was going to sign him back for another year, but I couldn't find him. I don't know what was the issue there, but I mean, he was such a killer player for us and really helped us out a ton in his 4 or 5 seasons with the Pirates. With another season gone, that means we're going to lose a ton of faces that we probably just recently signed. Manzardo and Alcantara both gone. Garcia, Fat, Bart, Heron, Mangum also all leaving. Tanner Scott's gone as well. And then Ryan O'Hearn, who really haven't played any roles in the last few seasons, are also leaving at this end of the year. I don't think we're going to be able to signing these guys back, so it's going to be another season where we have to build a ton from the free agent market. And the first signing of this offseason is going to be Roki Sasaki heading to the East Coast to play for Boston for the next 5 seasons. And then PCA will head to New York for 8 years and $245 million. And then a trio of signings, Pablo Lopez to the White Sox for 2 years, Alejandro Kirk for 3 years to the D-backs, and then James Wood heads to the Mariners for an 8-year, nearly $350 million deal. And our first signing will come by way of Tyler Horton. We needed a lefty reliever. It seems like we need one every season, so we'll pick up our first one here. And then Byron Buxton signs another 1-year deal, this time with the Marlins, who gave us fits last year, so hopefully we don't have to face them again in the playoffs. And then Evan Carter will head to the Rangers, and Ranger Suarez, funnily enough, takes a 3-year, $88 million deal from the Red Sox. And this time it's the Angels who bribed the commissioner to get to the second spot. We'll be at that number 22 slot. Hopefully we can pick up another solid class. During the Rule 5 draft, we saw a few interesting players. Akinora Na is a guy who's a potential third baseman, could be a solid pickup. Chase Dolander, another player here, a starting pitcher. And then Hurston Waldrop, another youngster who was really a top prospect for a very long time, will end up in a Rule 5 draft. And then the White Sox also get another free agent. This time it's going to be Brent Rooker. And they're looking to find another power bat for at least the next 3 years. And we'll get our second lefty reliever, and that's going to be Tim Herron for 2 years, $7 million. And to round this free agency class out, we'll get a first baseman. This time it's going to be Pete Alonso, a 1-year, $16 million deal. Hopefully he can get us over the hump and finally to a World Series. And then Andy Baez will return to the Dodgers for 9 years, $311 million. And there's not been any trades this offseason until now. Carson Williams is headed to Seattle for a handful of prospects, and the Rays are clearing house very quick. They just traded Caminero last season, and now they get rid of Williams. And as we get into our 6th season here, this is what our lineup will look like this season. A lot of the same names from the last few years. Pete Alonso in a 3-hole. Spencer Jones has worked his way in the top 5 of the rotation. And Paul Burris is going to be a split role DH. He's going to be batting against righties, which is going to be a perfect role for him. He absolutely destroys righties, and hopefully he'll develop over time. But on the other side, Lombard Jr. will also be the DH there. And then looking at our pitching rotation, it's a little bit worse than the last handful of years. Bubba Chandler leads us at the ace, Michael King behind him, and Cade Anderson, Seth Hernandez, and then Hunter Barco with Braxton Ashford as our long reliever. And then a couple other guys. Johnny Chin works his way back into the majors after a few years away. And then our closer still the same with Ryan Walker, and then Tyler Holton and Isaac Mattinson are here as setup pitchers. But we have a lot of youngsters that could work their way into the roster. Craig Rosenberg is a really solid closing pitcher with a potential that if he gains a few points in his overall, he's probably going to get promoted at some point soon. And then similar for Elijah Well, he's really, really good. He just needs to work on a little bit of that contact, possibly a little bit of power, but the fielding is really good there at third base, and he could work in as well. But we really don't need him right now because we have such a good third baseman who's going to be an everyday player. And then Doug Davis is another name to look out for. He's really young, 20 years old, 70 overall with B potential, so he could progress pretty quickly. And then Emerson Casilla, a guy who we talked about last year, who's right on the cusp as well. But we're also the best team in the division by a long shot. Nobody's ranked better than 20th. So as long as we can beat up on our division opponents, we should be in a really good spot to go back to the playoffs. And we'll get a huge pickup about halfway through or a third of the way through this season. Nolan McLean will be coming to Pittsburgh for Anthony Rodriguez, a second baseman who he drafted just last season. And then Yordani De Los Santos, a guy who has been on the roster for a while. We're not going to need him at any point. But McLean looks to be very good, has had solid stats this season, a 3.3 ERA, 1.2 whip with 80 punch outs. So I'm very excited to have him in the rotation now. And he'll go straight to the ace spot, and he should be our ace for the rest of the season. And then in the same exact game, we'll see Paul Burris and Spencer Jones both go down with long-term injuries. Burris is done for the season, and Jones probably won't be back until at least the end of the year in September. And it's just an insane turn of events for us. And then the Phillies get a steal as they get Jeremy Pena and a Hayden Birdsong for Cesar Cortez, Peyton Graham, and then Luke McGinnis. One aging guy who's 77 overall, and then a couple interesting prospects. And then this draft was absolutely crazy for us. Sawyer De Los Santos, 94 potential, 61 overall, already has really amazing contact, a potential, can play first base and even right field if you need him out there. Kevin Hayden, another starting pitcher, 91 potential, 65 overall. Probably won't see this rebuild. Scott Harms, we kind of missed on this one, 79 potential, 59 overall. And then Caden Stark, an insanely good closer, 73 overall. Could be a guy who works into the rotation if we do have to play again next year. 92 potential there. David Hoskins, 65 potential, 54 overall. Ronaldo here, 82 potential, 51 overall catcher. And then another good catcher, but really low overall here, and Mark Perez. And then with the first pick, the Detroit Tigers will take Calvin Trayer, and they get a 73, 89 potential player. Not too shabby, a little bit far off for a generational type of guy. And then the A's get a closer generational with a 95 potential, 73 overall starting pitcher who's 20 years old. He looks actually pretty solid for them. And then to round out the top three, Jerry Del Villar will go to the Blue Jays, a 92 potential, 61 overall right fielder. But Jacob Beatty was a solid player, probably the best player in the class, 96 potential, 71 overall, comes in as a shortstop that can play second base and third base. But all in all, a very solid draft. It's unfortunate we won't probably see any of these guys in the majors, but it's still good to have them on the team. And 2031 will be our best season yet. 95 wins, 67 losses, the only team from the Central Division to make the playoffs. And we'll also get a bye with the second seed here in the NL after the Marlins put up a 100-win season. And we'll be waiting for a chance to either play the Dodgers or the Rockies. I'm hoping we get the Rockies. But regardless, I think we have a solid team to put up a good chance of winning. But before that, we get another reliever of the year or delivery man of the year award. This time it's going to be Ryan Walker. He goes back-to-back. MVP goes to Corey Seager, who's back on the Dodgers in this one. Yordan Alvarez gets it in the AL. AL Cy Young goes to Cole Reagans. Paul Skenes narrowly misses his third in a row. Yoshi wins his after a year off for George Kirby. The batting title goes to Stephen Kwan and Rafael Devers. Reliever of the year, delivery man of the year goes to Yariel Rodriguez and Ryan Walker. And then Dana Santana, the former Pirate, now part of the Marlins, is in second place there. Benito Castilla wins the Rookie of the Year award. He was drafted in 2029. He's 87 overall, which is absolutely absurd. And Jack Foster, a guy who was drafted in 2026, so the first year of this rebuild, wins it as a starting pitcher. And then Hank Aaron goes to Fred Mattson, who is a generational player that was drafted in 2026. He's only 22 years old. He's absolutely absurd. And then Yordan Alvarez wins it in the other league. But looking at these, we don't have anybody that won any awards this year, which is different from last year. We had like 4 or 5 guys win Silver the Slugger. So even though we didn't win any awards, we're still a better team, and I think we're in a better spot. And that goes to show when you look at the average, 266 for a team. Brian Reynolds hit a 312 average this season. Looking at home runs, we were top 10 with 252, 34 from Alonso, 30 for Griffin. That probably is his best mark of his career. And then looking at ERA, we're top 10 of 4.25, which again, I think is the best mark we've had in this rebuild. And then we've dealt with injuries all season. At one point, I think we had like 4 of our major league roster on the injured list. Paul Burris is still down. Sung here was a breath of fresh air. He came in, played 32 games, had a 296 average, 8 homers. The OPS was 858. He was absolutely killing it for us. And of course, he gets hurt and he won't be able to make the roster for the playoffs, which is going to be a massive, massive miss for us. And of course, we'll be taking on the Dodgers in the NLDS. And this team is disgusting. They have Andrew Abbott, who was on the Pirates for a little bit during this rebuild, George Kirby, Kyle Tucker, Yoshi, Andy Pajas, who just signed a massive deal with them. Ben Rice is on this team. Jaron Duran, Luis Garcia, who again was on the Pirates at one point. I feel like we're just a feeder team for them. Shohei Ohtani, who's regressed a ton to an 88 overall. Still probably really good. Corey Seager, Will Smith, Nolan Gorman, Brady Singer. I mean, geez Louise, their starting rotation is all above 86. It's just absolutely absurd. And we are definitely the underdogs, even though we're a higher seed. And after looking into it a little bit more, we'll actually get a benefit of a doubt, as the Dodgers did play 2 games before this. We'll take on their 3, 4, and 5 pitchers, which are still, incredibly good, but it's a little bit better than taking on their 2 aces. So if we can get these first 2 wins, that is going to be huge. And we get the first game 6-3. Nolan McLean on the bump gets us the big win. And honestly, not that good of an outing. Garcia had a couple hits, 2 for 3 day, but mostly everybody else with only 1 hit. Pete Alonso did get a double. Connor Griffin, Pete Alonso with 3 RBIs and Garcia with 2 as well. McLean did go 6 innings without giving up a run, but then Holton came in and gave up 3 as they came back to get within 3. So we'll take game 1 at home. Can we sneak game 2? No, we don't. The score flips. So now it's on to LA, where we get a massive win, 10-2, as we'll put up 15 hits as well. Our top 4 guys did miserable. Alonso, Westberg, Griffin, and Reynolds. A lot of money going into the top 4, just didn't do much. But Spencer Jones with a solid day, 2 for 4. York, not too bad. Oh, I guess, okay, so I was looking at their averages, average for the full series, I guess. Reynolds went 2 for 5, not too bad, and then Westberg went 2 for 5 as well. So this game was a little bit better than the last couple. Now we're just 1 game away. Well, can we get this win? Game 4, and we do, and we are on to the NLCS to take on the Marlins. And you remember the last time we were here against the Marlins in the playoffs? They got us in a win in a walk-off, which is always something you never want to see. And the team they're rocking this year is pretty similar last year, except for they did sign Byron Buxton in the free agency period over the summer. They also got a couple more. I think Kim is also relatively new, but Steve Torres is their generational prospect, 22 years old, already 99 overall. Absolutely crazy stuff. I mean, this year he put an 858 OPS up, which is good for his second best mark after his sophomore season in the league. So it's going to be a tough task to take down this team. They're really good. And they put up a 100-win season as the 3rd best team in the game. And this time we'll be on the road to start the series. We get the win 6-1. This time Pete Alonso with a 2 for 4 day with 2 RBIs as well. Reynolds puts up an RBI, so does Spencer Jones. Then Nick York in the 9-hole puts up a well. Kay Anderson with 7 innings, no earned, 4 strikeouts. Nicholas comes in and gives up a run, but that was their only run today. So we get the first one. Oh, and we get absolutely skunked in game number 2. But now it's into Pittsburgh. 3-0 game number 2. Oh, even up 1-4. Can we get the last one before we go on the road? We do. 2-1 at home. And Spencer Jones, once again, a 3 for 5 day, really put us over the top. Elijah Whale also gets in a pinch run for Pete Alonso and stays in and gets a hit as well. So that's really solid. Alonso with an RBI, Jones with RBI. I don't think we've seen a home run yet. I don't think we've had any home runs that I've noticed in this series. Michael King goes 5 innings, doesn't give up a run. Holton with 11.25 ERA goes an inning and 2/3, doesn't give a run. So his ERA was probably abysmal before that. And then Rosenberg gets the win with only getting 1 out into 10. So this one went into extras, but we were able to sneak out the win. And now we just have to win 1 more game. And we get it done. We are 1 series away, and we are taking on the White Sox in the World Series. And this is how the White Sox team looks out. They don't really have a star player, nobody above 90 overall. Jason Dominguez up there. Randy Rodriguez is a closing pitcher, which, no, they didn't draft him. He's 31 years old, so they picked him up via the free agents. They picked up a lot of guys through free agent. Barrett Rooker's here, Kyle Teal, Alec Boehm, Pablo Lopez, Matt McClain, Connor Phillips, Sean Burke, Justin Steele. So they have a pretty solid team. Also Sandy Alcantara, who was on the team for a little bit back a few years ago. But the White Sox are a top 10 team in the game. Their average is 271 for the season. Really solid. They had 97 wins, which is the second best mark of the season in the majors. So it's going to be a tough task, but can we get it done? We lose game one, 2-6, but we even it back up 6-4 in game two. And look at these averages. We have a really solid team. I mean, Reynolds batting 300 in the postseason so far. Spencer Jones, a 313. Nick York above a 300 as well. And then Garcia, a guy who I don't even think has really played this season that much, has a 355. Alonso gets his second homer of the playoffs, which is a little low for a guy that we brought in to hit a lot of home runs. Reynolds with his 10th RBI. Alonso also 10 RBIs as well. Griffin with his stolen base. Chandler didn't do too great. Gave up 3 earned runs in 5 innings, but our bullpen was lights out. Ryan Walker did give up 1 later in, I think, to the 9th inning, but Heron came in and got the save. So it's all well that ends well, but now it's on to game 3 back home. Can we get it? No, we can't. 6-9, White Sox's way. Oh, no. 3-7 White Sox's way now, and it's a 3-1 series lead. We do get game number 5 to go our way, final one in Pittsburgh, and now we got to go into Chicago and sweep 2 games. But with the season on the line, Nolan McLean on the bump gets us the win, and the last day of October, we skunk them. We go shutout. We only had 3 hits this game, and all of them resulted in RBIs. I mean, Pete Alonso with 2 RBIs, both coming off home runs. Nolan McLean went 7 shutout innings with 10 punch-outs. Holton came in, and Walker got the save, his 4th of the playoffs. And now it's time into the month of November. I don't think any of the World Series has lasted until November in this rebuild. And game number 7 here in Chicago. I'm not sure how many game number 7s have happened here in the White Sox Wrigley, or not Wrigley Field. I'm not, is it something right field? I'm not sure what the White Sox field is. And here we go. Game number 7 is going to start off with Connor Griffin on to take his first AB of the game. He's going to swing and miss that one. He put up a 5.6 WAR this season, which is pretty solid for a guy who is still very young, even at this point in the rebuild. We'll just watch this first at bat since Connor Griffin's been the cornerstone of this franchise for the last 6 years. We'll see what he does. He gets that one on the ground. He might be able to leg this one out. Spinning throw. He didn't get enough through it, or he got maybe a little bit too much into it. But we'll go ahead and fast forward. Don't get anything in the top of the first. Nothing in through the second. The White Sox do get one. Can we get it back here? On to the 5th now. Still 1-0 game, but the White Sox get another run. They get another in the bottom half. Back-to-back innings with a run. A single from Westberg. A walk to get Jenkins on, and then a double play. But Westberg is on 3rd, and then the strikeout ends the inning. Bubba Chandler's still on the bump. We're going to take him out in favor of Holton. He's already given up, 2 runs in back-to-back innings. We have to get the out. Dominguez gets a single. And was that a double play? I think it was a double play, but it didn't pop it up. Nick York gets on, and then Connor Griffin comes through, and then Reynolds gets another one, and this is a 2-3 game. Walk to Alonso, pitching change, a strikeout first out of the inning, and a 3-run shot from Jordan Westberg. That's why we brought him in, and the Pirates are back on top. But 2 groundouts get out of the inning, a flyout from Holton, a walk to McLean, another flyout, a single to Murakami still here. I didn't realize Murakami was still on this team. But they pinch run for him, but the flyout gets us out of it. And we'll go watch this last inning, 9th inning here for all the marbles. Game number 7 comes down to the final game of the season. Into November 1st. November makes legends. Can we see somebody Connor Griffin with that massive hit earlier, he made a good name for himself. And then Westberg with the 3-run shot. That's also a massive moment. And now 3-2 count, no outs, nobody on. And Garcia is going to swing right there. I said he's been exceptional for the series. He's been exceptional for the playoffs. He's been a massive, massive part in the back third of our lineup to really kind of give us some big boosts late into games. Swing and miss there from York in the 9-hole. 2-2 count now. He's 1 for 2 today. Randy Rodriguez already up to 26 pitches and gets another strikeout, swing and miss. The massive closer, the second best player on the team for the White Sox. Oh, they're going to the bullpen. Are they going for they're going for a righty? Yeah, righty versus righty, but Randy Rodriguez, I guess he was just too tired. 1-1 now for Connor Griffin. Oh, swings and misses on the high heat, up and in, probably a little bit outside this, like a really far outside the zone. Not sure what he saw there. And another strikeout. So 1, 2, 3 inning from the White Sox. And now Ryan Walker on to give us a save. He's got, I think, 5 or 6 so far, a 3-time reliever of the year award, including in the last 2 seasons, or 3 years in a row since 2029, 2030, and 2031. One more pitch to get it done. 2-2 count. Swings and miss on a nasty slider down and away. Got the absolute sword there. Kyle Tillip already has a homer today. Oh no. And he has a lefty versus righty. It's definitely benefiting him. 1-1 count. Oh, that's not in the zone. They don't choose to challenge it either. And now one more pitch between Ryan Walker and another strikeout. Oh, that's going to be a good hit. That's deep. Oh, that's deep. At the wall. And Spencer Jones has to give up on it. And it's a 5-4 game. What a shot from Kyle Teal. Oh, my goodness. Just absolutely raked that one. Now it's Dominguez, switch hitter, so I guess it really doesn't matter which way you go with him. But after getting that home run, it's a 2-2 count now on Dominguez. Can he get a second strikeout of the inning and get to the last batter? Swings and misses, sinker at the knees, out number 2. One more out away from a World Series save that clinches the World Series title. And now it's on to Brent Rooker, who has moved from the A's to the White Sox, 2 historically terrible teams. But they, in this rebuild, have done amazing things. They have spent a lot of money. He's 0 for 4 today, 3 groundouts, a strikeout. If he can go 0 for 5, he'll be a big fan of the Pirates. And Ryan Walker, only one more pitch away here. Full count, 2 outs, bottom of the ninth, 1-run game. Oh, he's going to walk him. He'll walk Rooker on. And this is getting a little worrisome. They're going to go to the pin. So Walker's not going to get the save opportunity. It's going to be Isaac Matson. 2-1 count after the walk to get the runner on first. Oh my goodness. He swung for the fences there and he was foul. Holy crap. 2 count, 2 outs. Matson swings and misses. And that has done it. 6 years. It took us 6 years. We traded Paul Skenes year 1, but we finally got the Pirates back on top for the first time in 30 plus, 40 plus years. The Pirates will be called World Series champions. This one was a long one. I feel like the Rays, we did it pretty, I think we did it in 4 seasons. The Cardinals, we did it in 5, but this one took a while. Obviously, when you trade your best player, probably should have got a little bit more back than a couple B potential guys, but what a turn of events. Took down some pretty impressive teams. The Marlins had a 100+ win, took down the scary, scary Dodgers, and then the White Sox honestly had a solid team as well. And shout out Jordan Westburg, man. 2 for 4, a homer, a 3-run shot. That was a massive, massive turn. Literally, if we don't have that hit, we don't win this game. I mean, we only had 6 in the, I mean, they definitely played better than us, but we were able to come through when it mattered most. And there we have it. You can see the run we went on. Honestly, we didn't really have any easy road. The Dodgers, solid team. Marlins, really solid team. And the White Sox, we took to 7 games. So what a very, very tough road there. But look at the past couple seasons, or the last 3 seasons we made the playoffs. I mean, we made the playoffs 5 out of 6 seasons. And we finally got over the hump. We didn't advance past the NLCS before this, but it was time to make a run. And we got it done at the perfect time. And before we're done here, Jordan Westburg, World Series MVP, a 407 average, 3 homers, 8 RBIs. Obviously makes sense for him to get that. Spencer Jones, though, gets the NLCS MVP, 350 average or so, 3 homers, 10 RBIs in that one. And then Kyle Till obviously gets it for the other side. He was absolutely crazy. He was almost brought them back. He was very, very close to getting them back and winning that game in the bottom of the ninth. And Mookie Betts and Mike Trout would both retire at the end of this season. And Trout put 583 homers up. That's probably one of the better marks I've seen in MLB The Show. And what I like to do at the end of these series is go a couple years and just let the CPU take over completely. And oh my goodness, they are cooking. Obviously, they don't have the same rules as us, but holy, Rafael Devers, Ranger Suarez, and Gabriel Arias, which is absolutely started. We changed Lombard, who's 82 overall now, and then a couple other prospects. But holy crap, the CPU is going crazy trying to go back to back. And the CPU's not done. They pick up Norby for Ricky Mack, a potential closing pitcher that we picked up, I think, a year or two ago. And oh my goodness, they're not. Kevin McGonigal, 90 overall shortstop, which they have Connor Griffin there. I don't know why they did that. And then Barry Holt they trade away. And then Mark Perez, a guy who was probably never going to see the majors, or at least for not a long time. And the offseason wasn't a fluke. The rebuild Yankees trade away Jazz Chisholm as we pick him up, and Gage Wood, a starting pitcher. And then another massive trade where they get Sean Burke, another starting pitcher to bolster the rotation. They do give up Gabriel Arias, a guy who we just signed this offseason or got traded for this offseason. So they are not scared to move players. And then the same day, we pick up Ryan Walker again. I guess we didn't sign him during free agency, so he'll be back in the yellow and black for another season. And they even did pretty well on drafting their own players in the last spot in the draft. 86 potential, 62 overall. Starting pitcher they'll probably trade. Not too great there as second pick. 86 potential. Outside of that, nothing too crazy. And the CPU put up the third best record in Pirates history with 101 and 61 as they clinch the number 2 seed behind the Dodgers. Oh my goodness, with 115 wins. Holy crap. The Dodgers went absolutely nuclear this season. And we'll be taking on the winner of the Mets and the Phillies in our first series. And then some point along the way, they got Joe Adell. I don't remember seeing that. He wins the MVP this season. Like, what in the world is going on? And then Ranger Suarez, who we did see get picked up, he gets second place for the Cy Young. And then Rafi wins the Silver Slugger at first base. Joe Adell obviously wins it in the outfield as well. And then Joe Adell did have it crazy. Led the league with 49 homers, which is a little low, but 148 RBIs. And then Rafael Devers had 109 walks for a league leader as well. And even though the Pirates get their first MVP since the 2013 season, Andrew McCutchen, they still weren't able to mount enough to get past the Dodgers this time. A flip of last season's with 4-2 going the Dodgers' way. But the White Sox do get their World Series win, this time over the Dodgers in a 4-2 way. And then offseason number 2 for the CPU, they're still going crazy. Bo Naylor, Heliot Ramos, Justin Martinez, and Shane Smith all headed to play in the black and gold. And then after the 1-year rental, Joe Adell goes on to the Marlins. And then Don Casto, one of the first generational players of this rebuild, signs a 12-year, $560 million deal just at 24 years old. And then Kevin McGonigal, who we traded for in the last offseason, he'll be headed to the Dodgers. And we'll also pick up Brady Montgomery, but this time in season, about 40 games into the year, we'll pick him up for our right field slot. And then CPU draft number 2 didn't do too great. They got Dylan Rodriguez, a decent right fielder. Samuel Harris, closing pitcher, 68 overall, 84 potential. Jose Castilla, 58 overall. Decently potential player, has electric speed, but outside, nothing really too crazy. And then we'll get an insane player, Stephen Rush, 88 overall. 91 potential as a first-year player. Oh my goodness, he's honestly not like that crazy good if you look at his stats. I'm curious if he's he's not a two-way player, so I don't know where all his stuff is coming from because his stuff isn't that good, but he's an 88 overall. That's the highest I've seen a draft pick come in. And then a 99 potential player got drafted like in the 6th round, Sheldon Guzman, a third baseman. Terrible overall, but 99 potential nonetheless. And for this season, we'll miss the division win by 1 game to the Reds. Not a terrible team they've put together, 6 overall. Dodgers put up another 110 plus win season, just absolutely absurd. In the first round, we'll be taking on the Phillies, and then if we win, we advance to play the Dodgers. This will be the 3rd time in 3 years we play them in the playoffs. We didn't have any awards this season, but Ranger Suarez comes in with the league-leading 19 wins. And Connor Griffin also led the leagues with 50 doubles this season. And we're going to catch up with him for a second because he's had a stellar year this year. A 963 OPS, which was good for an 8.5 WAR. I think he's coming in on his last year of his contract. No, he's still got 1 more season of this year, but he's put up a stellar career a part of the Pirates. And then Suarez, for the 2nd year in a row, comes in 2nd place for the Cy Young. And this season will make it to the World Series, but we do get swept by the Red Sox in 4 games. So they'll be the 2033 World Series winner. And funnily enough, Rafael Devers, who's been on the Red Sox, I think twice at this point, was the NLCS MVP with a 440 average with 2 homers and 6 RBIs. And for another season, we really haven't signed any top free agents, but we do make a lot of off-season trades. And this time it's going to be Jet Williams at shortstop or Jose Castilla, one of our top prospects. And another blockbuster trade, Jack Leiter will be headed to the Pirates with Josh Smith and then Jackson Rutledge as well. And then I spoke too soon because we do make a big splash. Jackson Churio will be headed to the Pirates, 8 years, $260-ish million. And we'll pick up Orlando Thompson. He's the guy who was drafted the very first season of this rebuild. He'll be in his final year deal here. He can play, or he does play third base. He can play first and shortstop. And we also get Trey Savage as well for a couple of our other prospects who I think we did draft Doug Davis, and then Ricky Roshi was a guy who the CPU drafted last season. And another year in a pretty poor draft. I mean, they're drafting like the last 5 picks, but they do pick up Brandon Graffey. He's a decent second baseman with 8 potential, and he's coming in as a 59 overall. And then Jimmy Byler is a near generational player, 70 overall, 95 potential. And another near generational player, 96 potential, 71 overall, as he comes in as a starting pitcher. And unfortunately, in year 9, the third year of the CPU taking over, we'll go 82-80. Still not a terrible record, but we do miss the playoffs. Reds put up 102 wins. The Dodgers finally fall below 100 wins this season. Oh my God, the Orioles won 112 though. Holy crap. And we finished only 4 games outside the wild card, so not too terrible season. And we'll have a couple of gold gloves. Elijah Well gets his as third base, and then Jackson Churio gets his in right field. And to end this video, we're going to look over some of the stats of some of the guys that we brought in at, the start of the rebuild. But Connor Griffin is going to lead us off here. In his final year with the Pirates, I don't think they extended, though they haven't extended him, but his final year with the Pirates, he had a decent season. Definitely OPS under where he probably would have most seasons. I mean, his average for his career is 823. His WAR for his career was a 45.4, not too shabby. He's only, how old is he at this point? He's only 27, so he still has nearly another decade in the major, which he has regressed pretty significantly. I think he was up to like a 96 at some point. Crazy if he's regressing already this early. Paul Burris, a guy who we drafted who absolutely rakes, he got up to an 87 overall in his 4 seasons with the Pirates. I mean, he's only played 300 or 400, near 400 games. OPS at a 915 slate net last year, and didn't do too hot this year with only a 787. Had a nearly a 6.5 WAR in his career. Elijah Wells, another guy that we drafted pretty early on, switch hitter, B potential, but got up to an 87 overall. He's been with the team for about a year and a half at this point. Been on the roster for 4 years. Doesn't have, he did put up a 6.7 WAR this season, which is good for an 8-something in his career. OPS the last 3 years wasn't too bad. And then Emerson Casilla, another guy that we drafted in 2028. He's only been in the league for 70 games or so. Has pretty miserable stats, but has really good attributes. I mean, the contact's absolutely off the charts. Wong here is another guy that we drafted. Really good fielding, really good contact. Played for us a little bit in 2031, but has been kind of a miss the last 2 seasons. But he's hit a 955 OPS. I don't know why they didn't bring him up. I mean, in his first season, he had an 858, 955 this season. He's only 78 overall, but he absolutely rakes the ball. And then outside of that, the only real other person that we drafted was Gio Tyson, who's only been up for 22 games and has a 5.4 ERA. I guess you could say Cade Anderson was a guy that we brought in pretty early on. We traded for him early on in this rebuild. Hasn't had a bad last 2 seasons, but before that was pretty miserable. But all in all, a pretty good rebuild in my opinion. Did take a little bit longer than what typically you would see on some of these rebuilds, but 6 years after trading Paul Skenes, not too shabby. We got a World Series, got the 8th MVP of the Pirates organization, got another 100-win season as well, the 3rd in the organization's history. So all in all, I think a very solid year. But if y'all like today's video, leave a like down below and hit the subscribe button if you're not yet subscribed. I appreciate y'all tuning in. If you're feeling froggy, hit that hype button as well if you're on mobile. It helps out a ton and pushes the channel. But I appreciate y'all tuning in. I hope y'all enjoying it as always. I'll catch you all in the next one.